Okay, hello, welcome everybody. This is my first video and what I hope will be a ongoing series talking about my favorite movies, TVs, actors, things like that. Sometimes I'll be by myself, but most of the time I'm going to invite a special guest. Tonight my guest is my friend Darin from Nostalgia Cast, and our topic is top 10 Tom Hanks movies. And I asked Darin to be my first guest because he was actually the first person who ever invited me on any YouTube channel.
Wow. Okay.
So I wanted you to be my first guest.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Good. We really, and I'm sorry if I'm stepping on your toes here, but we
No,
really
go ahead.
enjoyed your conversation on the Rocketeer. I think I've told you and I've told people before, I love it when people bring something to the table that I didn't even think of or hadn't talked about before. So you talking about the kind of the beigeness and the neutral colors, and I just thought that's awesome. Like, it's something I hadn't thought about. So that automatically won you points in my book. And yeah, I've just always loved your content. You're just, like I was telling you, you're very easy to listen to. So I really appreciate this.
Thank you. You're so sweet. Why don't you tell everyone about your channel and where they can find it?
Okay, well, I host two podcasts. So the first one is and I think I started the other one since we've chatted, but the first main one is Nostalgia Cast, which I run with my friend Johnny Craddock. We basically take movies that the whole idea when we started was to take movies we hadn't seen since we were kids and kind of and we had good feelings about or good nostalgia for, put them, buy them out of the $3.74 bin at Walmart. I remember liking this. Let me put this on. It's the cost of a rental. And then we sit down, we watch it, and either they do stand the test of time or they don't. And it's just kind of, well, what's the reason for that? Is it the nostalgia that really ties us in and makes us love these things? So again, it's kind of an interesting way, I thought, to look at movies from that point of, do movies change over time? They affect you differently over time? And then the other podcast that I run with my other friend. I only have, three friends, including you, Marianne. I run with my other friend, Rob. It's the Back to Bluey podcast, where we take a look at the Bluey animated cartoon and we just turn 7-minute cartoons into 40-minute conversations about how we watch the show as fathers, deal with all of that. So yeah, I'm having a fun time doing both of those.
That's sweet. I haven't seen Bluey, but I know it's like this phenomenon, and that's kind of sweet that you're doing that, especially from the perspective of a parent. So
yeah,
it's
cool. Something that you will fall in love with. I guarantee someone like you, Marianne, will love that show. So I worry that you're going to be addicted to it. You're already so busy that you don't have enough time to watch this other show that has 150 episodes. So, but yeah, once you're in, I think.
And I absolutely love your Nostalgia Cast. I haven't seen admittedly, I haven't seen every single one, but I have watched a lot of them. Almost, I think really the only ones I haven't watched are from movies I've never seen before.
Yeah, those are
so. And you obviously, I'm not going to watch a podcast before I see a movie. And you covered a few Tom Hanks movies, probably a couple we're going to be talking about tonight. And yeah, and so you're on YouTube. Where else is the podcast?
Well, you can find me on Twitter if you look at DW Lumberg, or I'm on Blue Sky at DW Lumberg, just basically, or any podcaster, just look for Nostalgia Cast or Back to Blue. You'll find us. And we want to get more comments. And so if you hear this and you do listen or watch for the first time, please comment. Let us know what you think so we can get more involved.
Yes, everyone go and watch his channel. It's great. It's great.
Oh,
great fun. So before we get into our top 10, I just want to talk briefly about Tom Hanks as an actor and why we chose him and such. I have my notes here. So when I presented this idea to you, I asked you to give me a couple choices as far as actors you might want to cover. And one of them was Tom Hanks. And I was so happy that you chose him because he's my favorite actor. As I told you before we started, he's my most watched actor. I went through and counted every single thing I've seen with him. And it's 39 things, including his films and television shows and stuff. And yeah, I've loved him since I was a child. I still love his movies. He's been prolific and successful since the 1980s. He's played icons, real life and fictional heroes, voiced animated characters, won 2 Oscars, though I think he should have won more by now, in my opinion. And, it's just been such a successful actor. And I wanted to ask where he sat as far as like your favorite performers.
Well, number one, I think it's great that this being your first, right? You're covering your favorite actor, your most watched
Mhm.
actor. So I think that's a great way to do that. But Tom Hanks, I don't know if I'm not really good at ranking. Like I have a hard time with that because if I rank something, I'm going to spend a lot of time figuring it out, and then by the next day, it'll completely change. So I really don't spend a lot of time figuring out like my favorites. But Tom Hanks is, I would call him the warm blanket of my favorite actor. Like every time I just know if I put on a Tom Hanks movie, I'm going to be comforted by it. I'm going to enjoy what he does. He's just got a very naturalistic, human, likable. Even when he plays a jerk, he's got a
Yeah.
likable quality to him that you just can't help but like him. And he can do. I think he's more the Jimmy Stewart. He's more the everyman kind of actor, but
Mhm.
he can do deep stuff. He can play a gangster. He can play a little kid. He can play a wartime veteran. He can do all these things, but even in my favorite movies of his, and he can play cartoon cowboys, obviously, but even in my favorite movies, it's just that everyman quality that really sells it. You identify with him. There's never a barrier between you and Tom Hanks because he's so fun, he's so warm, he's so interesting just to listen to or look at. He doesn't have a matinee idol face, but he's got a very good looking face that you just look at and you're like, yeah, I could be friends with this guy. And I just think that's a
Mhm.
big part of his appeal.
Oh, I completely agree. I think he's one of the most natural actors there is. I mean, yeah, he reminds me of someone like Jimmy Stewart or Spencer Tracy and
Yeah.
someone like that. Um, and yeah, even just in real life, you hear him. He's a great storyteller.
Hmm.
He's a great interview. Just seems like an all around nice person, which is nice. But even if he wasn't, I would still enjoy his movies. But that makes it nicer and easier to like him for sure. And it's true. I mean, I think he brings a lot of himself to his parts a lot of the time, and will improvise. I just watched an audio commentary where they were talking about how many times he ad libbed and stuff, and
Hmm.
yeah, he's just a wonderful, wonderful actor.
Yeah. And he's engaging, right? You talk
Yeah.
about him in interviews. I think you could give him any topic and he'll expound on that topic in a
Mhm.
way that you're like, "Ooh, I didn't know that." You just kind of watch him like starry-eyed, right? But yeah, that's definitely like I said, he's just a friend. He just feels like somebody you
Yeah.
could be friends with in real life, and that's something that shouldn't be taken for granted.
Now, have you ever seen those interviews from Letterbox where they ask people like their four favorite movies?
Yes, those always put me in a state of existential dread because I wouldn't know how to rank stuff.
I get it. I get it. But so have you seen his?
No, I've seen it's one of those things where I need to check that out sometime, and then you just keep scrolling, so I didn't see what did he pick?
I'm trying to remember. My point was he would just went into these long,
Yeah, of
descriptions
course.
of why. He picked 2001: A Space Odyssey, A
Okay.
Hard Day's Night,
Ooh, okay.
Midnight Cowboy, which I've never seen, and I don't remember
Yeah.
what the fourth one was. But he gave this long-winded response that some people don't do that, and I thought that was great.
Yeah, in the way only Tom Hanks can, right?
Yeah. So getting into our top 10, I thought since you're the guest, you will go first. So
Okay.
what is your number 10?
Are we starting with okay, we're starting with number
Yeah.
10, we're counting down.
Yeah.
So the one that I have is Joe versus the Volcano, 1990, the John Patrick Shanley movie. It's a movie that you really have to vibe with it, I think. I saw it on video. I remember the trailers, watching the trailers for it. Marianne, you're in the same age bracket as I am. They had a channel like E Entertainment, and they would have a program that was a half an hour show called Coming Attractions, where they would play trailers. And for a
Mhm.
nerdy kid like me, I would tape them and just watch them back. I would make audio versions of it so I could listen to them on my Walkman. I was that nerdy. But I remember the Joe versus the Volcano trailer very vividly. And then I didn't get a chance to watch it for a while. The first time I saw it, I was like, what is this? You got Meg Ryan playing three different characters. What's happening? It's about him, like he's got a disease that nobody's going to talk about or can name, like brain fog or whatever. And then he's
Yeah.
going to end up jumping into it. It's very, very strange, but it's also about like, overcoming the mundane. So when you watch it as an adult, you really vibe with that, and you vibe with the kind of the comedic odd tone. I love Meg Ryan playing three different characters. Flibbertigibbet is a word that we use around the house like a lot of the time. And so it's just a very odd, offbeat movie that each time I watch it, I find something new to appreciate about it. And it's also kind of movie where if you don't like it the first time, you're really missing out if you don't try watching it again. just to see what my idea of movies is try watching it twice. If you don't like it the first time, watch it again. See if there's just something you missed or you weren't in the mood, or maybe you were in a mood that you like something too much. So watch it again, just so you kind of have a good viewpoint, a kind of a more objective point of view. But yeah, Joe vs. Volcano is one of my favorites. Very, very interesting movie.
It's interesting. I know I'd seen like parts of it when I was young, but I decided to watch it, in anticipation of this video. So I watched it actually just the other night, and
okay.
And I'm like, I don't really remember any of this. But you're right. It's weird and kind of silly, but it's also sweet and like life affirming. And I don't think it would work without them as actors in it, though. I think they hold it together because they are so good. Their chemistry is so good. It's funny. At first, I knew Meg Ryan played multiple parts in the movie, but the first one, I'm like, is that her? Because she looks so different with the short brown wig. I'm like, oh, that is her. Right. And then once I realized it was her, I recognized her. And it is it's a weird movie. And I definitely agree with you about watching things twice, because there are several movies that I didn't like the first time, and then I loved the second time around.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to watch this one again just to fully appreciate. But I do like how sort of offbeat it gets, like when they're fishing, and all of a sudden this like giant shark pops up the face.
Yeah.
And like the storm, and especially anyone watching this, spoiler alert for the ends of these movies. So, we're going to talk about the ends of these movies. I'm watching this and I'm going, how is this going to end? Because I'm like, this is a comedy. I'm like, I don't think they're both going to die, but what's going to happen here? And I was just cracking up when they jumped in and it spat them back out. And then they're just all the luggage just magically appears for them to float on. And all of a sudden he's like, I don't feel so good anymore. And she's like, it's always going to be something with you, isn't it? And he's like, yeah. And she's like, okay. I love you anyway. Like,
yeah,
it's so cute. It's just a really cute, sweet movie.
Right. And just as a spoiler, I know this is going to tick some people off, but the Meg Ryan, Tom Hanks matchup, this is the only one of their matchups that's going to make my top 10. I didn't mean that on purpose. I love You've Got Mail. I love Sleepless in Seattle. But if I had to choose just one of their movies, this is one I would pick. I think mostly because, no shade to Tom Hanks, I just love seeing Meg Ryan just kind of play different parts. It's very unique for her. But I just want you to know, I do love You've Got Mail and Sleepless in Seattle. They're my number 11 and 12. But I just wanted to have something that was more of a representation of her.
Well, that's good. Then our lists are going to be a little bit different, so we can talk about more movies.
Perfect. Yeah, because I figured that we would talk about them, so that would leave us.
Yeah, I won't say what number they're at, but yeah, I have both of those in my list.
Okay, perfect.
So my number 10 is The Terminal, the Steven Spielberg movie, and that's another one I recently rewatched. I remember I always enjoyed it, but there were parts of it I'm like, well, I don't remember everything that happened, so let's rewatch it. And I think it's a very underrated Steven Spielberg movie, for sure. It's the kind of movie that I love. It's very, it tugs at your heart. It's very sweet. It's inspiring, life affirming, about good people, except for Stanley Tucci's character. And it's kind of Capra-esque a little bit, I think, with the way Tom Hanks's character inspires other people, and through like his attitude and his good nature and stuff. And let's see, what else did I put? I just think it's, you sympathize with his character, because he literally can't do anything, because he's like, he doesn't want to break the rules. He doesn't want to leave. Like, Tucci wants him to leave. It's like, well, I want him to be someone else's problem. But he's like, he's not that kind of person. He wants everything to be right. So he's like, well, okay, I'll just do what I have to do. And some of my favorite moments are when he just figures out how to survive in the airport. So he doesn't have any money, so he figures out, well, I'll bring these carts back and I'll get money for food. He stumbles upon the construction in the airport. Okay, well, I'll figure out where to sleep. And I love how he just takes it upon himself to just start like the construction on his own. And I love when he makes the fountain for Catherine Zeta-Jones's character, and when he goes up to Zoe Saldana asking all the questions on behalf of Diego Luna's character was very sweet. And of course the end, and when everyone wants to see him leave because of what he's grown to mean to all of them. And I love that. I also love the moment when he helps the man get the medicine for his father.
Mm-hmm. The goat.
By telling him it's for a goat. And then that becomes like his nickname, and his little handprint, they write the goat on it. And it's just such a lovely movie. And I'm glad I rewatched it, because I was debating between a few movies to make like my number 10. And I'm like, okay, this is going to be 10, because it's just such a beautiful film. So what do you think of it?
Well, Spielberg has said that this is his favorite Tom Hanks performance, and I can see what he's talking about. It's a very nuanced performance. It's lovely how he navigates. He doesn't really change as a person, and because it's Spielberg, there's that great visual scene where Victor just sees on the TV like his home, like his country is at war, and he doesn't know how, he can't read it, so he's walking around the airport trying to figure it out, and we sense his desperation. I love that as visual storytelling. The only thing, and I love how he becomes like the inspiration and affects and all these other people. Spielberg famously built this entire airport hangar, like with actual working shops, which a lot of the critics had a problem with, because it was like, well, why are you wasting your time on this, Steven Spielberg? You're Steven Spielberg, do something more. And it's like, well, you can make a movie believable and lived in. And so the only thing that I push back on, it's the Catherine Zeta-Jones character is weird, because if you lift her out, it really doesn't affect anything. Yeah, there's the love interest, but how it comes down to her in the end, it's like, oh, you can get the signature. And then he does, but then no, it doesn't matter, because he still needs to get, what's his name? I just thought that was a little, maybe you could have lifted that out, but other than that, I think it's a very lovely kind of encapsulated movie.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I guess I liked it, even though obviously they don't end up together. I like that it just showed more of his character, because kind of maybe made him more human, because it's like the love story isn't just for someone else, it could also be for him. And obviously I read that there was an option or a secondary ending where maybe they were gonna end up together, and she was gonna go with him to the hotel at the end, and they decided not to. And I think it's better that they didn't do that, because it's not really very, very realistic. He's gonna go home, he wasn't here to stay, and she's constantly traveling. And I think her character is very sad, and she does a good job in it. I do think it probably would have been better if that stuck, what she did for him, that it mattered, instead of well, he just left anyway. But other than that, I love the film.
Right.
Okay, so what is your number 9?
My number 9 is A League of Their Own. We just barely did an episode on this, so I won't expound too much. If anybody wants to, they can listen. The main thing with this, yes, it's a great slice of history that not a lot of people are aware of. And there are, like our guest Phoenix, like when he watched it the first time, he wasn't aware there was an All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, right? And so that opened the doors for him. So I like that. And Gina Davis has said that people come up to her and say, because of you, like women come up to her and say, because of you, I wanted to be a baseball player. And so that's great. But I always feel bad, because the Tom Hanks part is the subplot of that movie that I really jibe with. And it's because the sister storyline is a little bit predictable. When, as a screenplay, you watch it, oh, this is going to happen and that's going to happen. So you can kind of tell where that's going. But Tom Hanks, again, this is maybe his ideal. He's an a-hole, but because he's Tom Hanks, we know we like him, first of all, but we also know he's going to come around. And watching his character change and soften, again, it's that there's no crying in baseball. That line is so funny, because he's not just yelling at her. He's not just yelling. He's He's genuinely upset. He doesn't understand. He basically goes out and he's yelling at her like he's been yelled at before, and then she gets upset about it and starts crying, and he's like, I don't like, this is what baseball is. Why are you crying? He's genuinely upset and confused why she's doing that. So his line reading is just so funny. But then you get to the end where, you know, Evelyn, like, he brings her over, and he's just got so much bunch of energy, and you can see that's what you love Tom Hanks for. You can just see it in his face. He's just trying to be, and he's just, when she leaves and she's all happy and he's still shaking. It's so funny. I just, it might be my favorite of his comedic performances. I just think he's very, very fun to watch in the movie.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love A League of Their Own. So I'll go ahead and talk about it now, even though A League of Their Own is actually my number 3 movie.
Okay. Ooh.
I love that movie so much. It's one of those where I don't have any complaints whatsoever about it. In terms of just like every kind of filmmaking aspect, I'm like, everything is so good. The story, the directing, the acting, the editing, the cinematography, the score, and it's definitely one of my favorite performances from Tom Hanks. Yeah, he's so funny, and he's such a jackass. But because it's Tom Hanks, there's always something else there. So you don't, like, even at the beginning where he's being a jerk, it's like there's still a little something there where you're like, you feel maybe a little bad for him, because you know, he's sad that he ruined his career, but he goes through a great arc. And you see, the things I wrote down were, so I like I guess you call it the predictability. I like that. I like the structure. And I think it's one of the best movies as far as like callbacks, things that are presented early in the movie, or just throughout the movie, that come back later in the movie and are very important. So I love, of course, the big one is between the sisters, you know, lay off the high ones. I like the high ones, you know.
Right.
And, you know, in the big game, she's like, she can't hit him and she can't lay off him. And I just love that look her sister gives her, like, I'm going to show you, I'm going to hit this damn ball. You know, I can hit this. And I think that's great. The thing, let's see, well, when Dottie and Jimmy are talking about her husband, and he's like, if something had happened, you would have gotten one of those telegrams.
Right.
And then not long after that conversation, you know, that comes in, and, you know, there's that tension where you're like, oh my gosh, who is it? And for a split second, you're like, you think it might have been Dottie's husband, and then, you know, it's not. And
right.
Okay, that scene, I've seen that movie so many times, and every time I watch that, I'm still crying. And then the other one that's really important sort of plays into that moment you're talking about where he's shaking. Evelyn hitting the cutoff man. You know, the first time she messes up, and he's like, "What team do you play for? You know, why did you throw home?" And in the final game, yeah, she has that big mistake where she throws it way offline and misses the cutoff man, and that's why they lose the lead. But in that final play, she does it right.
Yeah.
She hits the cutoff man, and it's Dottie that doesn't come through. And I think that's there's other movies that do that. I just think this is one of the movies that does it the best.
Yeah.
And yeah, and maybe it's a little predictable, some of the stuff with the sisters, but things like that don't bother me when they're done well.
Yeah, you're right.
And the acting is just so good. And the other thing in this movie, I think I talked about it with you in a private chat, is the editing and the score, the way they edit the passage of time with the newspapers and the photos. And like during the World Series, they show all the scores, and that's a way to move through the World Series quickly. And I love the score from Hans Zimmer. It's just spectacular. And then that final game, they really amp up that tension so well. And I just feel like every bit of it is earned, and yeah, it's just fantastic. And as far as Tom Hanks, he's so funny, but he has some of the best lines throughout the whole movie.
Avoid the clap, Jimmy Dugan.
Yeah. I didn't get those. I didn't get the adult jokes when I was younger. Obviously, I do now, but
well, the kids didn't either.
Yeah. But when he hits the kid with the glove.
Maybe the only movie that I sanction kid violence. Like,
yeah. And I love that the mother's like, she doesn't get mad. She's like, come on, still, we'll just get in the dugout, come on.
She knows what a panty is. Yeah.
But yeah, one of my favorites is let's not go to the World Series without Stillwell's toys.
Yeah, this is exasperated yelling.
But yeah, he probably has the best lines in the whole movie, and the one he gives to Dottie, it's supposed to be hard.
Yeah.
If it wasn't hard, everyone would do it. The hard's what makes it great, and which is true, not everyone has athletic ability. I certainly don't. I watched this movie and I'm like, oh, I want to play baseball. And I quickly learned I do not have that talent.
No.
But I love watching baseball, and I didn't know there was a women's league, and I loved learning about that. And I also love the credits.
Right.
How
over the
credits,
song.
Over the Madonna song. The song's beautiful. It's probably my favorite Madonna song. Yeah. And I love how it has everyone's position. I just thought that was so clever and unique. And, then they have the montage of the production photos and the real life women playing the game. And just, just everything about this movie, I just love just so much. And yeah.
Right. Well, obviously the conversations we have, like if I have issues at the end of the day, you're right. It's like, it doesn't really matter because the movie still works. Right. But the way conversations are and the conversations that I've had with you, it's like, yeah, we can have different opinions, but like we're talking about them. That's the whole deal. There's no reason to get upset that one of us likes something the other day, because we have different values. We've gotten to different places. And so that's the whole point. I just love that the movie's very respectful of that time. And it gives you, something to be nostalgic about and something to look back on and study when you're done and find out more about the league and things like that. So, yeah, it was the second movie directed by a woman to cross the $100 million mark at the box office. So I'm glad that I have that in my top 10. I'm glad that I have another Penny Marshall movie in my top 10. But it's just great to know that, this movie's just very likable. And even if there is stuff, Marianne, that we don't quite see eye to eye on, it's still enough, and we do see eye to eye on everything else. Like it's a great movie.
Did you see that in theaters?
I did. Like I go as a kid, famously I would go to New York every summer, and so it was a movie that one of either my cousin or my aunts or my grandparents would take me to. So I did go see this in the theater.
Yeah, I did too. Like I said, I have a few ticket stubs. That was before I started collecting them, so I don't have that one. But yeah, I saw that in the theater, and I vividly remember going with my whole family. I went to the movies a lot as a kid with my parents and my brother. We would always go, and sometimes I would go with cousins and stuff. But yeah, that was when I went to.
Okay.
So my number 9 is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Ooh, okay, good.
So that is the movie. It's not a straight biopic of Fred Rogers, but it is the movie about Mr. Rogers. And the main character, though, is, they changed this name, but it's about the man who did a very famous interview with him. I think it was in 98, maybe. I might be getting that wrong, but so that movie,
Tom Junod, I think, is the author. Yeah, that's his name.
Oh, okay, they changed it to Lloyd. I think it's Vogel in the movie. Now I've only seen, admittedly, I've only seen this movie one time, but it had such an impact on me. I remember it really well, and so I grew up watching Mr. Rogers.
Same.
Religiously. I love Mr. Rogers. He is one of the most beautiful people to ever walk this earth. And he really was as wonderful as you expect him to be. And I really liked that the movie kind of framed it for all those cynical people who don't believe someone could possibly be that kind or good. Like the person who went to go and interview him, he's like, there's you, and then there's your character. And then, Mr. Rogers famously would always start to ask everyone else questions about themselves and not want to talk about himself because he cared about other people more than himself. And I just think it's a really moving tribute to Fred Rogers, and it's very profound, and I like the way it's framed and the narrative. And Tom Hanks is such a good actor. Sometimes you're like, oh, I'm watching Tom Hanks, and other times I'm like, oh, I'm not even thinking about that it's him. And in this case, I really felt like I was watching Mr. Rogers, even though he doesn't look exactly like him. I'm like, God, he captured him, because he gave me the same feeling I had when I was a child watching Mr. Rogers, who was so comforting and loving, and just it's like one of those warm blanket kind of performances. And contrast to a movie I do love but didn't make my top 10, Saving Mr. Banks, where he plays Walt Disney. And he's good, he does the best he can with it, but he doesn't quite capture Walt Disney, right? For me, at least, because I know Walt Disney so well. But he does capture Fred Rogers, and there's several moments in that movie that I just love, especially when they're in the subway and all of a sudden the kids start singing the song to him.
Right.
And when he goes and visits Lloyd's family and his father who was ill, and whispers something to him. And it's a movie. I constantly am getting emotional and almost like on the verge of tears. And then the moment when they're sitting down to lunch and he just asks them to take a moment to think about all the people that think about all the people who loved you into being, or something like that.
Exactly.
And he looks directly at the camera. And it's just so gentle and precise. And all the people that I looked this up, all the people in the scene were people that had worked with Fred Rogers. And I'm like, oh, that's just so touching. And it's just such a beautiful movie. That's a movie he was nominated for an Oscar for. And I mean, I haven't seen, so he lost to Brad Pitt for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Okay. Now, I haven't seen that movie. I asked my mom, I'm like, because she's seen it, I'm like, who would you have picked between those two? She's like, oh, it's tough because Brad Pitt does do a great job, but she's like, oh, Tom Hanks is so good too. They're completely different kind of movies, so it's almost hard to judge. But but I wish he'd won. I wish he'd won an award for that performance.
Right. Well, the Oscars are one of those things, I guess, infamously, I'm not a big Oscar person, because it's like you're awarding something that might not be lasting in the next 10 years. Like, we might not be talking about it. And the other thing too is Tom Hanks, it's sad because he won 2 Oscars like back to back. And so Oscar kind of had this idea, well, he's already won, let's give it to other people. It's very democratic that way. Even though I think Hanks is given better, like the movies that he won for didn't make my top 10 or even my top 15. Just wanted to say that.
Nope, me neither.
So it's just like, it's very, at the end of the day, we have to look at it, well, it's a performance that meant something to me. And it's sad that it didn't mean something to Oscar, I guess, but that it touched me. I think that's the important part. I just think with Tom Hanks, you're making a movie with the side character of the sweetest, most open and honest and sincere man on the planet. Why not get the actor that kind of embodies those things? And if you didn't mention it, I was going to mention it. It's like that whole scene in the Chinese restaurant encapsulates everything about Mr. Rogers and everything that he kind of brought across. I love how there's no way that everybody in the restaurant can hear what he's saying. with all the noise, with everybody, but they do, because that's what Mr. Rogers is. And they all put down their forks and their spoons and their cups, and everybody just takes a minute. You can see it in everybody's face. And I love that you brought up that, oh, these are people that worked with him, because obviously I know they're probably going to be thinking of him, right? And so it comes across very sweet. And when he looks at the camera, it's the same thing. It's like, you're supposed to be thinking about who loved you into being, right? I just think it's a very lovely bit of magical realism. Like Mariel Heller does a good job of getting that across, and it's just a very sweet, comforting movie.
Yeah, and it's funny. I almost feel like Mr. Rogers, even though I didn't know him, but you feel like he loved you when you're watching him. I feel like he loved everyone that he's talking to. So he would be someone who loved me into being,
Right.
along with my parents, my brother and grandparents and people like that. And it's such a beautiful movie. And it's funny when they it came out the same year, I think, that the documentary about him came out, and they went and saw it, and they're like, well, gee, should we even make this movie? I'm so glad that they decided to go ahead and make the fictional movie too. And Matthew Rhys is wonderful in it too. And he's a fantastic actor. Everyone's good in that movie. Chris Cooper and I can't remember the actress who played Matthew Rhys's wife. I don't.
Susan Kalishi Watson. She was on.
Yes.
Yeah.
This Is
very,
Us.
very good. Yeah. This Is Us. Exactly. I love her as an actress. She's great. Yeah.
Okay. So what is your what is it? Your number 8 or 7?
Number 8. So you already picked the Spielberg movie. You picked the term. I'm going to put Catch Me If You Can as my number 8. And famously, it behind the scenes, it speaks to Tom Hanks's generosity as an actor. This was a Leonardo DiCaprio movie, and when they hired Tom Hanks on, who's arguably a bigger star than Leonardo DiCaprio, especially when this movie came out, Tom Hanks did talk to Leo and say, "Look, this is your movie. I'm here as support for you." Right, and so I think that's very lovely. And so I don't know. I like his Carl Hanratty. I think he's a very likable character. I love the cat and mouse games that they play. There's not a lot of I think it's overlong by about 20 minutes. A movie like that's very whimsical and kind of magical doesn't need to run for 2 hours and 20 minutes. I don't think. You could maybe cut it down a little bit, but I just think it's and like I said, there's not a whole lot that I can say about it other than watch it. I just like it's got Spielberg's playfulness. Like The Terminal, it's not like a groundbreaking, earth-shattering, this is going to change the way the world works kind of movie. But the way that it tells the story about this kid that just loses his way, and again, it's very personal to Spielberg because obviously he has a thing with parents, things like that, but has a lot of very tear-jerking moments, has a lot of really fun moments when Leo is he's learning how to be a pilot, and you see him do all these things. You see him play a doctor, you see him play you get Amy Adams in a performance that I thought it's very, very fun to watch her in there. But it's just fun watching all these pieces kind of come together. And it's like I said, there's a bunch of the magical Spielberg stuff, how floating dollars on the wind, or the way that it takes place in Christmas when he finally catches up to him, that kind of thing. It's just a very like a warm movie we talked about. And again, it's Frank Abagnale. I want to make sure that I get his character's name right. Based on a true story. I don't know. I just like it as a movie. It's a very magical movie, and it whisks you away. And Christopher Walken gives a very sad, kind of whimsical, wistful performance. It's just like I said, just watch it. It's a very interesting, like involving, immersing type of movie.
Well, I love Catch Me If You Can. It is probably unpopular, but Catch Me If You Can is my favorite Steven Spielberg movie.
Ooh, okay. That's good. That's great.
Not a lot of people say that, but it is. I love that movie. It's one I saw in movie theaters. I have my ticket stub right here. Okay. I was going to show them, but it's all backwards. But I saw it on New Year's Eve with my family. We would go to movies a lot of times on New Year's Eve, and I love that movie. Besides Titanic, it's my favorite movie. It's my favorite DiCaprio movie. It's probably my favorite DiCaprio performance. I like him charming, funny, light on his feet, but still having the emotional moments. And it bugs me that he doesn't ever do that lately. I mean, he's always so dark and heavy and everything. And I'm like,
fighting bears.
You can do more than that. And that's his prerogative, but I wish he would do more movies like that. And I love the sense of Spielberg is one of those directors where he really captures a time period perfectly without it it's just there, it doesn't it's not like it throws up on you, you know what I mean, where it's like ostentatious.
Yeah,
it's just there, and he's so good at doing that in his films, and this one especially. And I love the feel of it, the 1960s kind of sheen, and the music, and I definitely
got a really good John Williams score. Yeah, wonderful. Score.
The score. Oh, I love the score. I love the jazzy score with the finger snaps, and that is one of my favorite John Williams scores. And everyone is so good in this movie. Christopher Walken, Amy Adams, Martin Sheen, and I think one of the things I like about it, and it's the kind of thing, it's like you wouldn't believe some of the stuff if it wasn't real. And I think the dichotomy between the two characters is really interesting, because sometimes, throughout the movie, you maybe will forget how young Frank is. He's young. And when I think when Carl realizes that he's just a kid, that softens his perception a bit. Right. And he gets kind of protective of him, even a little bit. He's still treating him like a criminal, but right. he doesn't want to be ruthless with him. I love the scene when he finally catches him in France, and when he's almost out the door, he's like, "They're going to kill you," and he's like, "They are going to kill you because they embarrassed you." And he doesn't want him to die. Obviously, this is just. He's barely an adult. And right. When for a split second, when he thinks Carl lied to him, I like that moment. But when he's like, "I'll get you extradited, just don't worry." And it's sad how long it took and how ill he got. So when he visits him, you could see that, he's, in one breath, he's fed up. It's like, come on. I have to read you everything, but he's also concerned about him because he's in terrible shape. Yeah. And it's funny how he's still trying to escape. Let me see. I always write down favorite moments and stuff. I love how it's kind of like League of Their Own, where you can't categorize it in one genre.
Exactly.
It's comedy, drama, a little suspense with the cat and mouse kind of thing. And I enjoy movies like that. I like a blend of dramas where you can, cry and laugh and in the same movie. And a lot of it's so funny. I love the part through the airport with the Frank Sinatra song, where he knew exactly what to do to distract all the officers, get some pretty Pan Am stewardesses to walk through the airport with him. And side note, I want to be one of that for Halloween one year. I just think that's the cutest. That's the cutest costume. I think. I like the scene when it's Frank has come back home and he runs into the house that his mother is living in.
Yeah.
And he sees the little girl through the window, and he's like, "Well, where's your mommy?" And just the realization that well, it's like, does she even care about me anymore? She just has this whole other life. And does she even care about my father, because he just found out his father died? And it's so sad. And he's just like, "Just put me in the car, Carl." It's just, my heart kind of breaks for him. And and I really love both performances. And it's such a wonderful movie. Little things Spielberg does, the Dutch angles and the bill floating through the air, just with the score. And I also love the moment when he first meets him and he convinces him, that
He's an agent. Yeah.
he's an agent. And he just sits down and for a second and has that just little sigh. Just for a split second. And then he's like, wait a minute. It only takes him a second to go, wait a minute. Maybe this isn't right. And he sees all the labels have been peeled off. And,
right.
I love that moment. And how Frank learns everything through television, you know, Perry Mason and doing the whole spiel, like, and the judge is like, Mr. Abagnale, this is a preliminary hearing. There is no defendant. There is no. What the hell is wrong with you? And you know, doctor, do you concur? You know.
Yeah.
And the kid is like, oh, why didn't I concur? You know, and I just love all those moments. You know, it's funny. It is long, but you know, I don't feel the length when I'm watching it, so I don't know what you would cut out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So let me see. Is there anything else I wrote down? That was it. Yeah, I love this movie. It's fantastic.
So where did this place for you then on the list?
It's where is it? 5.
Okay, number 5. All right, so we did talk about. So the other thing I'll add is I love that because Leo had a hard time grokking onto him because he's got a very babyish face. I love how Spielberg, like Scorsese, I don't think used him very well in Gangs of New York. I think maybe Leo was miscast in that movie. He and Cameron Diaz are maybe the weak links of that one. But I love how Spielberg gets his childishness, but also the heartbreak, like the nuances and you see him grow. I love that. I love how he basically captured that. And then too, the John Williams score is great because Williams grew up as a jazz player, and so him being able to integrate that into his score, I just think is very, very lovely. Again, it's got such a nice, rich, magical tapestry to it. And when the movie came out, people were like, again, it was like The Terminal. I think Ebert's review was like, okay, you made a good movie, Spielberg. Now get back to something that's really important. But what you said about the movie, how it's your favorite and how it is personal. It's got the Spielberg with his mom and his dad, and after the Fabelmans, we see how important that stuff is to Spielberg. I know this is a Tom Hanks podcast. We're getting away from that, but it does work as a personal piece of work, and I love that you picked it as your favorite Spielberg because every movie is going to be somebody's favorite movie, so we can't discount that for other people.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I haven't seen The Fabelmans yet, so it's my favorite Spielberg movie, but there's a few I haven't seen, obviously, but I want to. It's, you know, that's a movie I keep waiting to come on streaming, and it never does, and it's frustrating.
Right.
My mom told me she watched it, and she said it was really good. And
yeah, it's wonderful.
I'm sure I would like it. I have watched there's a documentary about Spielberg, so I know all the things about him growing up and his father. So obviously, I probably know all the things they explored in the movie.
Right.
That's a great documentary, and I watched the documentary about Steven Spielberg that came out last year, and I didn't know some of the not Steven Spielberg, John Williams.
Right on Disney.
I didn't. Yeah, it was on Disney, and I didn't know some of those things about him as a jazz musician. I didn't know that, and I'm like, oh, no wonder he was so good at that score. Yeah, exactly like you said.
Right.
Okay, let's see. I'm on number 8. I'm guessing you're going to have this on your list probably much higher than me. My number 8 is Castaway.
Okay. Yep, I've got that as my number 4. But yeah, go ahead. Well, I'll talk about it after you talk about it.
Okay, so this is a movie I tried to remember. I'm like, I didn't see this movie in theaters. And it's exactly the kind of movie I would want to see in theaters. And I'm like, why didn't I see it? So I looked when it was released, and it came out like the same week as Miss Congeniality.
Okay.
And I did see that movie in theaters, and it was like my Christmas break during school. I think it was like my first semester of college or something. Okay. So I probably just had time to go see one movie, and that's the one I chose. Miss Congeniality instead, but I
gotta have priorities, Marianne.
Yeah, I love that movie. So, but I did see it, you know, once it came on video. I rented it right away and loved it. And it's probably, I think, if I'm thinking about his best performances, I think it's probably his best performance.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Another one that I think he should have won an Oscar for.
Yep.
Because, I mean, 90% of that movie is just him.
Yep.
And there's very little dialogue, except, you know, when he's talking to Wilson or just talking to himself. And it's such, I know that movie's long, but it doesn't feel long because even though it's just him on this island for most of it, it is so engrossing and compelling. And you feel every single emotion that he feels. And your heart breaks, you know, as you see him, you know, get thinner and thinner and longer and longer. And it's funny. I've always liked movies with people on islands ever since I was a kid, you know, like shipwrecked and things like that. So of course it was probably going to be a movie I would enjoy, but it's just so masterful in everything it does. And it's one of the best Robert Zemeckis movies, one of his last great ones, you know, probably.
Maybe his last masterpiece.
I think so. He had Castaway and What Lies Beneath in the same year.
Very good.
I don't know which one came out first.
What Lies Beneath did. That's part of why I like it. I'll talk about that in a sec.
Okay. So let me see what I wrote here. So a few moments. I love when he makes the fire for the first time.
Right. I have made fire. Yeah,
exactly. It's funny and, you know, a bit emotional. And that, you know, it's a movie I haven't seen it in a while. So correct me if I'm wrong. So he knows he has to get past a certain point in the water in order to like basically escape. It's because of the way the
coral reef. Yeah.
Okay, it's a coral reef. So once he makes it past that point, but then he loses Wilson, and he's like, he can't go back for him. Mm-hmm. And when he's crying, "I'm sorry, Wilson," as if he's like a real person, you know, because up to this point, he is like a real person to him.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so sad that he's reached that point, but you're like, you know, you can't go back. And, you know, of course the end will break your heart, but it is hopeful too at the end of it. Right. You know, you can't blame her whatsoever, because how many years, how long was it? Do you remember?
I think either a year or 2 years. I can't remember. It was
a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. 4 years. It was 4 years. There's a title called This Is Because It Takes Your Breath Away. You see, 4 years. Yeah.
It's just amazing how long he survived. And the part when he wants to, you know, end it. You can understand why. And it doesn't work, right?
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah. And it's almost like, was he relieved? I think it's like partly yes, partly no. It's such a good movie. And so where did you say you had it?
I had my number 4. Okay. So as far as Zemeckis goes, number 1, I think Zemeckis, Back to the Future is one of my most important movies growing up. That was like indelible. And so he's always going to have you know, my love, right? And then Who Framed Roger Rabbit came out, you know, all that stuff. Castaway is, I think Zemeckis got too caught up in his technical stuff. That's the problem with him, is he got too involved in what he could do instead of how to tell. But he's a really good storyteller, all the way from Romancing the Stone to Castaway. When he just concentrates on the story itself, I think it's great. And the technicality of this is, they started filming Castaway. Or actually, no, they filmed, it was What Lies Beneath, and then he was filming You've Got Mail. So he actually, in You've Got Mail, he was bulking up to be his Chuck Nolan character. And then they started filming the first part of Castaway. And then they took a break. They took 6 months off so Tom Hanks could basically whittle down his physique and lose all that weight. And then Zemeckis went and made What Lies Beneath, which is a fun movie from a technical point of view. I know that's hypocritical of me to say, but it's really a fun kind of toy with your senses kind of movie. So I love that. That's the technicality of Castaway. But the other thing, we talked about this with Catch Me If You Can and The Terminal, how critics will look at a movie, and I just think that they no pun intended, they missed the boat here, because a lot of critics were like, well, this is a movie about survival and what it takes to be a man and how to make it out in like the, the wilderness or just by yourself. And to me, because the movie is shot in a like the 1.85, it's not shot in 2.35, which I think would be more the wider screen, which would be more apt for a story about man's survival. But since they shoot it in a smaller frame, in the 1.85, I think it's a more intimate story than that. This is a movie about a guy that doesn't make time for what's important to him, and he doesn't realize that until he's too late. He's on the island by himself, and he realizes, I shouldn't have been in such a rush to get on the plane. If I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be in this situation. I could be with Kelly right now, right? And he keeps that little locket the whole time. And it's William Broyles Jr., the screenwriter. He wrote Wilson into the script because, yeah, you just can't have a guy just sit there and not say anything. Audiences are going to get bored. So it's a weird kind of narrative choice because you get what they're doing, but Wilson over the course of the movie becomes an actual living person. And I say this is Tom Hanks's best performance because this is best actor. He's on that island, like you said, for 90% of the time, and you're engrossed and you're involved in everything that he does. Even Will Smith couldn't pull that off in I Am Legend. They had to give him a dog. They had to give him a Spanish family that comes in at the end to kind of alleviate him, right? Tom Hanks pulls it. I love that this movie is so brave that it doesn't do the cheap narrative thing of breaking off to show Helen Hunt trying to find him. It just concentrates on him, and it's such a brave movie. And when he gets off the island finally and he loses Wilson, I remember sitting in the theater and just bawling, and me and my wife turned to each other, why are we crying over a volleyball?
I know.
And it's just, I think that's the magic of movies. It made you fall. And yeah, he loses him and he's just, I'm so sorry. And when it cuts and it's that slow shot of panning down, and you just hear him just sobbing so uncontrollably. It's so heartbreaking. And yeah, it's Tom Hanks. He's just being Tom Hanks for the most part. It's just Tom Hanks trapped on an island. But the fact that he can make you believe in this Wilson volleyball, the fact that that he would be so heartbroken because it's Wilson that got him through those 4 years, and he just lost him, and just, I'm so sorry. And I can't even put into words, Marianne, how powerful a moment that is, because it shouldn't work. But because the filmmaking is so good, the storytelling is so good, the acting is so good, it just absolutely nails it. And yeah, that ending is completely heartbreaking. But he knows that he needs to make time now for what's important, and he's not going to make that mistake again. That's the lesson that he learns. It's just a very powerful piece of cinema, and I love it. I love this as an experience.
Well, it's funny because I know how much you love this movie because I've seen you talk about it. So I thought it might have been your number one.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, this is my number 4. As much as I love it, it's still number 4.
What's above this?
Right. So yeah, it's amazing. Tom Hanks has so many good movies. I was like making my list going, oh my gosh, how am I going to organize these? And I think the way that I organize, I think all
the other movies that top 10.
Right.
So is it your turn or is it my turn? I lost track.
Yeah, I think it's my turn because you talked about your number 8.
My number 8, yeah.
Okay, so my number 7, and like I said, these bottom 5, you could basically rearrange them however you want. Like, I had a hard time putting them in order because I love them all equally, right? And I think my top 5 just impacted me more as a person, as a cinephile, I guess. So my number 7 is actually That Thing You Do, which we covered on an episode of Nostalgia Cast. You talked about how Spielberg is so good at capturing a time. I think this captures the 60s perfectly. It feels like you're watching a Beatles movie, right? It feels like you're watching A Hard Day's Night. But Tom Hanks famously, again, this is his first movie that he directed, first movie that he wrote. It's all him. Every character seems him. It's all funny. It's all witty. It's all warm. Even the Jonathan Scheck character, even the heartless guy, Jimmy, you get where he's coming from. Like, it's his art. Like, it's being ripped from him, right? Because of commerce. So you get all that. I just love that it's this pocket. It doesn't matter, right? I think it's important though, as a movie. When I say it doesn't matter, I just mean you look at it, it's like a bubblegum pop movie, right? But it does have meaning. It's about finding yourself, right? It's about becoming something other. And there's different things in the movie that kind of show you that, how Guy becomes a man, how Jimmy becomes, and you learn all these things. And I love Tom Hanks's character. He's not it seems like he's a guardian angel, but in a way, Tom Hanks's character is also, and again, he's a supporting character in this. He's also kind of evil in a way because he's the record salesman. It's all about money for him, right? That's all that he's really in it for. Yeah, he's sweet to Guy and everything like that, but as Mr. White, he does have that. He is exploiting these teens for money. There is that little undercurrent of the movie, and I really like that. But again, it's so funny that Thing You Do song, Adam Schlesinger, who again is no longer with us, it's so important that you get a song that you can listen to like 20 times and never get tired of it. And I love that they play it in different snippets. They don't play it whole all the time, but yeah, it's such a likable song. It's such a likable movie. It's just Warm Blanket, Marianne. It's just one of those movies that I love, and every time I'm bored, I'll put it on and just have a fun time with it.
Well, I love That Thing You Do. That Thing You Do is my number 2 Tom Hanks movie.
Okay.
So even though he's a supporting character, he's not in the movie that much. It's his movie because he wrote it, he directed, he even wrote some of the music. It's funny. I didn't see it in the theater, but God, I wish I had. Yeah. I think it was like maybe slightly like less known, like I didn't know about it or something. I don't really remember why. And it was like a kind of a bomb. Like it didn't make any money, which is sad. It's obviously become like a cult classic ever since, but I did, again, I thank God for Blockbuster Video because I rented it right away, and I completely fell in love with this movie so much. And then we bought the tape right away, and I would kind of watch it ad nauseum over and over again. And
yeah.
I have it right here, because I still have it, got the soundtrack.
Yes.
I still listen to this all the time. I mean, not just that, when you do every single song, not just the Wonder song, not just their songs, all the songs in the movie are fantastic that they created for the film.
Yeah, they're all original. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah,
it's awesome.
They are.
Sorry.
They're all so good.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And it is like a warm hug, this movie. I never thought about his character being kind of like evil. I mean, I don't think I'd call him evil.
Not quite evil, but yeah.
Yeah, he is. You know, he's the business guy, you know.
Right.
He's stern and telling him what to do, and like with Jimmy, you know, I don't want this lover's lament crap. I want something peppy. And you understand both perspectives. You understand, you know, this is what's going to make money. And then you understand Jimmy, you know, he doesn't want to do that. He wants to do what he wants to do. And that's just the way it was, you know, back then. You know, they didn't have very much control over what they had to do. But I love everything about this movie. Like you said, it captures that time period so well it's sort of, that's at least the sweetness of the era. You know, there's a darker side to the 60s, obviously, but it captures the fun and kind of whimsical. And I love the look of the film. I love the characters. It is one of the most quotable movies to me. All the characters, I mean, especially Steve Zahn's character has so many funny quotes. I think I wrote down a whole bunch of them. Let me see. Oh, you know, it's funny you mentioned A Hard Day's Night. So I haven't seen that movie, but once I knew Tom Hanks said it was one of his 4 favorite movies, I'm like, I'd seen clips, but I haven't seen the whole thing. So I'm like, oh, that movie obviously influenced him when making That Thing You Do. They are completely, and that's definitely a movie I need to see because I love That Thing You Do so much. But
yeah, you'll love Hard Day's Night, I think.
And because I like the Beatles, I like Beatles music. They aren't my favorite, but I do I especially love that era of the Beatles, or early 60s Beatles. But I wrote down all these things. Hearing their song on the radio for the first time is one of my favorite moments ever on not just in the movie, just ever in the movies, because it's just so joyful and real, and exactly how people like that would react. How they stop in the middle of the street, leave the car doors open, and run into the record shop and are just dancing, and it's just so funny. And when Steve Zahn grabs the
the poster, yeah. Well, as a creator, Marianne, that scene is going to have impact because you create stuff and you put it out in the world and you see somebody watching it for the first time. It has that's what you feel. It really captures that moment.
That's true. You know, if someone likes something that you do, or it's out there and you know someone has seen it, it's a wonderful feeling in anything. Right. Music, art, writing, anything. So you're right. I never thought about that. So I'm just going to read all these. A man in a really nice camper wants to put our song on the radio. Give me a pen. I'm signing your sign. We're all signing. Yeah. You are my biggest fan. When they're on the radio and it's like, who's your favorite? And he's like, Cat Geach and the Shrimp Shack Shooters. I'm like, brat.
Yeah.
But it's adorable. I love when Guy is like taking care of Faye on the airplane when she's sick. And he's like, well, Faye's not feeling very well. And Jimmy could care less. He doesn't even respond to that. And I'm like, oh, there we go. Mm-hmm. First indicator that he is not good enough for her, because she is such a sweetheart, nothing but supportive. Mm-hmm. And he's just a jerk.
Well, that love story is handled so well. You can tell that Guy is in love with her. There's an early shot when they're practicing and he's watching her, and her arc is she doesn't realize, because she's got the star, right? She's got the headliner, but she doesn't realize that it's Guy that's actually been watching out for her and actually cared for her. So it's a very lovely the way that it's handled.
Yeah, and I love his character. I found out, I didn't realize that's actually his first film role. He never made a movie before. And I'm like, wow, well, he's so good from the start. And the other day, I think you saw a thing where they talk about the female gaze and how men don't always understand what it is. I'm like, his character in that movie, at least for me, it's like, he's sweet, charming, attentive, sort of thing, and adorable. And I love his character and how much
Tom Everett Scott, right? His
Tom Everett Scott,
very natural.
He's in other things I love, but this is my favorite thing still that he's done. And I love how much he loves jazz, and that when he meets Del Paxton for the first time, he just completely ditches Rita Wilson. He doesn't care anymore. It's Del Paxton, and his whole spiel about I was stationed in Germany, at the same time, but I couldn't see you, because you were in Hamburg and I was in Munich, and you are my biggest fan, and I love that it comes back around. You think that's going to be it, that he's not going to see him again, and I love that comes back around, and that really changes his life. And you find out at the end that he founded like a jazz conservatory and stuff. And I just love those little tidbits. And I love the bass player on the Matterhorn.
Which they call him the bass player, right? That's interesting too. They don't give him a name.
B player, Ethan Embry is one of my favorite actors. I've loved him since he was a kid. He's in a lot of my favorite movies. He's in one of my favorite Christmas movies that no one knows. It's called All I Want for Christmas. And I love that movie. I know part of it is probably nostalgia, but I just adore that movie, and he's like adorable in it. And he's in another movie that no one knows with Reese Witherspoon called A Far Off Place.
Ooh, okay.
Where have you seen that?
I have. Been a while, but I've seen it.
But that's a movie that's not streaming anywhere. You can't rent it anywhere because of like weird legal problems, because it was Disney and Amblin.
Weird.
I think it's weird, which is a shame because that's a wonderful movie. I'm getting off track, but I love him in That Thing You Do, and I think it's funny that he doesn't have a name. He's just the bass player, and yeah, you know, Steve Zahn is so funny in it, and like, oh hey, wasn't that our fan? You know, and I love Liv Tyler. She's someone I kind of relate to. I never had thankfully I've never had a boyfriend like Jimmy, you know, who didn't really care about me, but I can see why she feels the way she does. You know, she has like the stars in her eyes, and she's seen his like persona, not like the real him that comes out at the end. She's like, you know, I wasted all these kisses on you because I wasn't really kissing you. You know, you don't save that. You save it for, you know, your music. You don't save it for me.
Right.
And it's heartbreaking, but, you know, she needed to learn that so she could be with the person she's supposed to be with, which is Guy. And yeah, I love every single thing about that movie. Oh, and I do love that the first time you hear the song the way it was should be played, they went over the audience, and then you hear it again, and by that time, you know, Guy's dad, who's been like a big curmudgeon stick in the mud the whole time, is just loving it so much, and it's getting the remote and turning it up, and you know, fake drumming, and I really love that moment. You know, there's more lines, but I could go on and on and on about the movie, but
right. Well, I would think this is maybe his most rewatchable movie, right? Even though it's my number 7, I think I can put this on at any time, and I must have seen this at least 50 times by now because it's such an easy, fun watch. So you having it as your number 2, that's great. Like, obviously you want to have this pretty high.
Yeah, my top 3 are the ones I've actually watched the most too. So right. I've watched this movie a lot, and I've watched my number 3 a lot, which was A League of Their Own, and I've watched my number 1, which I won't say yet, a lot. But I've watched all of my like top 5 a lot, but especially the top 3, and yeah, that's one I'll quote with. Thankfully, I have a nice family who loves this movie too, so it's we'll quote it, you know, all the time to each other and laugh.
Right. Whenever Tom Everett Scott shows up in a movie or a TV show, one of us in the family will always go, Guy Patterson, like, or Johnny will even say that.
Well, yeah, I will. If he's in a movie, I'm like, oh, look, it's Guy Patterson. I just say it's Guy. I don't say his real name, even though I know what it is.
Right.
Yeah. Especially if I'm describing it, like I'm telling like my dad or something. Oh, and you know, Guy Patterson's in it, and
that's how you know it, right?
Yeah, well, and he's someone sometimes he forgets names of actors if they're not like a big actor. He'll sometimes forget who they are. So
right,
yeah. So that's just a good frame of reference. I think we're at my number 7. Yeah, my number 7. I have the Toy Story movies.
Okay.
Which I have my tickets for those too. Not just 1 through 3, not number 4. I didn't see number 4 in the theater. But I love these movies. Toy Story 2 is my favorite out of all of them.
Smart.
Is that your favorite?
It's my favorite out of all of them. Yep.
Oh, that's nice. 3 is wonderful too. And 1, of course. I actually like the 4th one for the most part. I watched it really late. And all I heard was nasty negative things about it. And I'm like watching it going, well, this is cute. You know, it's not as good as the other ones. The only thing I don't like about the movie is the ending.
Exactly.
Because I felt like I'm like, this is not in I know they're animated characters. I'm like, this is not in character. I don't think Woody would do this. I think he cares about children too much. And I'm like, I think he cares about all those toys too much and Buzz Lightyear too much to not be with him. I'm like, I don't care how much he loves Bo Peep, you know. I'm like, this is wrong. And I'm actually, you know, I'm kind of I'm like, oh, another sequel. But I'm like, maybe they'll fix the ending in Toy Story 5 with
I
the
think
new
they
one.
already have, because the
Yeah.
production photos you see Woody with everybody else again.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, what
I'm
was the
like,
point of that?
yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. I don't know who wrote it.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's just weird, especially when part of the movie shows how important a toy is to a child when that child has lost their parent in the like carnival, and one of the toys, makes themselves seen so they can comfort the little girl and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, obviously I remember seeing it in the theater and just being like, mesmerized like everyone else by, a computer animated movie. Oh my gosh. And thankfully it has a wonderful story to it and great voice acting. Tom Hanks is wonderful. I love how often unhinged Woody seems to be.
He's a jerk. Yeah.
And especially compared to Buzz, who is so calm and cool and collected, and he just cannot stand that. You're a toy. Screaming at him, "You are a toy, and you are a sad, strange little man." Instead. But number 2 is my favorite because, well, one, I think it's the funniest.
Right.
2, it has I love Jessie as a character. I think she's like a really relatable kind of character. That feeling of feeling like kind of forgotten and like left behind, by people. That's really relatable. And I love the whole Woody's Roundup thing. And I especially love my favorite scene in the movie though isn't with Woody. It's with all the kids trying, not the kids, the toys in the toy store going down the Barbie aisle.
Yeah.
And Mr. Potato Head's like, I'm a married spud. I'm a married spud. That's my favorite part of the movie. So where do you have the Toy Story movies in your top 10?
Well, we're jumping way ahead. The Toy Story movies are actually my number 1.
Oh
These
wow. Okay.
these movies bring me so much joy, Marianne. I can't even tell you. And I get it. It's funny when you look at these movies, because when they start out, like, yeah, the animation's a little wonky, like on the dog and on the humans, but it's like, well, you're right. They have a good story, I think, to get that through. But like everything has to start out from a place, right? You have to start out somewhere. Yeah, if you compare it to Toy Story 4, like Toy Story 4, the animation is so much more supple and so much more, has much depth to it. But the story doesn't work for me as much as the first 3 do, right?
Right.
It infuriated me at the end when, well, number 1, I don't think Toy Story 4 needed to exist, because you end them. It's a
Yeah.
perfect three-part movie where you go through Andy, like from a kid to being in school and then being like leaving for college. It's a perfect ending, perfect, like, so I don't think they needed to make another one. They have like shorts on Disney Plus that are just wonderful. Like you have Small Fry, you have like the Toys That Time Forgot, you have all those little short Hawaiian Vacation, which are all such a delight. And I like that idea better, that you can just go visit these characters that you love every now and then, instead of putting them on another adventure where you have to do this heart tugging thing where you lose a character, right? Even though you have like Spoonie's a fun character and Keanu Reeves as Duke Kaboom is really funny. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
things I like in the 4th movie, but I don't know. I just think it's an unnecessary movie, especially since the first 3 told such a good
Mhm.
movie. Like, so I say the second one is my favorite, Marianne, and it's kind of an Empire Strikes Back Star Wars thing where, yeah, Empire Strikes Back is my favorite Star Wars, but without Star Wars, there wouldn't be an Empire Strikes Back. You wouldn't have
Right.
any connection. So really, I would have to maybe put them as a tie, even though I do enjoy Toy Story 2. The part with Jessie, the When She Loved Me song, in the theater when I saw it, my jaw was on the floor because I couldn't believe that this movie about animated toys was breaking my heart like this. Like I believed in all these characters, right? And the same thing with the first Toy Story. It's the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs of our time, because of the 90s at least, because at least we knew there was animation, but we didn't know it could do this, right? We didn't know it could support a feature-length story. And like I said, the characters just bring me so much joy. I'm invested in so much of their adventures. The flaws of the movies is that Buzz Lightyear becomes less of a character, less of a second, like a supporting character or a main
Yeah.
character, becomes more of a, to the point where in the 4th movie it's like he wrestles with a conscience, like that's his arc. It's just weird. They didn't have anything to do with Buzz. So I think they have, the movies fall into that trap with sequels where you repeat stuff. The Lotso hugging bear in the third movie is a repeat of Jesse. It's basically just the same thing. You see Buzz. I love in the second one. The great thing about the second one is it does everything that I think a great sequel should do, Marianne, is that it gives you the same, but it gives you the characters grow. It puts them on new adventures, but it reminds you of stuff that happened. I love the part where Buzz meets his other toy self and he basically reverts. He doesn't technically revert, but the other characters think that he does. I love that whole thing that flashes back. And in the third one, they put on a Spanish mode, which again is just another version of this. So there's a lot of repetitive stuff that kind of doesn't stand as strongly. But that third movie, the way that it ends, and you literally think that they're going to be incinerated. That's where it could end, but it doesn't, and it breaks your heart all over again, though. Yeah. To where they say goodbye to Andy, where Andy gets to play with them one last time, and he even gives Woody up and. There's that part, and again, people that don't have attachment to toys aren't going to understand, Marianne. But when Bonnie waves Woody's hand and it cuts to Andy, he takes his breath away, right? Because those are his friends. I don't know. I could go on and on and on and on and on about this stuff, Marianne. It's just it's magical. Toy Story 2 is just breathlessly funny from beginning to end. It's emotional. It's everything. Those first three movies are just, I don't know, masterpiece level animation. I just love them so much, and they mean so much to me that's the reason they're my number one. It's funny putting those, even though Tom Hanks is a voice, I still think it's funny putting those as my top Tom Hanks movie.
That's okay, because the voice acting, if you don't have the right voice actor, it won't have the same impact,
right?
And even just the little just grunts and sounds. I mean, it's hard to be a voice actor, honestly. If people think it's easy, but it's not as easy as you think. And that moment when you think they're I'm watching. I remember vividly in number 3 when they're in that thing. You think they're going to be incinerated. I'm like, wait. I'm like, wait, what's going to happen here? I'm like, this is dark. And they all hold hands, and I just start bawling my eyes out. And I love that I didn't realize what was going to happen. I forgot about the little green men that to come in. I love that it wasn't obvious. Even though, you're watching a kids movie, you don't really think they're going to kill these toys, but you're like, okay, what's going to happen here?
Right.
But I love the Toy Story movies. I was looking at I made a Pixar ranking on my Letterboxd, and I have them real high. I have 2 and 1 at 3 and 4, and 1 at 6. So I don't know where I have Toy Story 4, 17, really low.
Lord.
So for a while, Toy Story 2 was my favorite, until my 1 and 2 are Monsters Inc. and Finding Nemo. So the thing about, you talked about people go, oh, the animation doesn't hold up or whatever. And I'm not one of those people who is nitpicky about that sort of thing. I'm like, because one, the animation still looks good. No, it doesn't look good as something that came out in 2024. It's not going to.
But it's still very tactile and 3D. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, with any kind of special effects, the older movies are just not going to look good. Right. But I don't care. Yeah. I literally don't care if I love the story.
Yes.
And the performances. That's what matters most to me. So, when people criticize the movie, oh, the effects don't hold up. I'm like, that's your takeaway?
Yeah.
I'm like, were they good? It's like, maybe if they were bad effects when the movie came out, maybe I can understand that criticism. But no, I think people get too caught up in that sort of thing, and have so much of a recency bias with movies in general. Yes. The latest thing is the best thing ever. That's my favorite thing. The thing that came out 2 years ago, and
right.
And so many of my favorites are things that are old. So it's in my top 10 here, I do have newer movies of his that I love, but they did not make it into my top 10. So yeah. So
like I said, these are the Toy Story and Toy Story 2 are going to be, if I tie them, that's going to be my favorite computer animated movies ever made. And then it's the same thing. It's like when you look at a movie like King Kong from 1933, yeah, the special effects don't look as, up to date as today, but there's still so much joy and still so much creativity in every movement that Kong makes. And you can see the fingerprints in the mold, and it's just so personal. And I think it's the same thing here. It's like, yeah, the animation, there's other movies, Marianne, that came out around the same time that have arguably worse animation, but they don't stand up because their story just doesn't work. I think the buddy comedy narrative is universal, and it lasts, and it always is going to work. So that works. And like you said, the performances, Owen Gleiberman of Entertainment Weekly says that Tom Hanks actually gives a more nuanced emotional performance in this movie than he gave in Apollo 13. And I'm like, well, yeah, I agree with that. Like, he's a jerk, and then you get what he's coming from. The "you are a toy" is maybe my favorite line that Tom Hanks has ever said. It's so funny because he just can't get through it. But yeah, there's just so much joy to these movies, and so I don't feel bad anymore for putting them as my number one.
No, you shouldn't. So I think we're up to your number 6.
Okay, so my number 6. I'll try to be a little bit shorter about this one.
We're going a little long, but that's okay.
We are. It's fine. I'm having a fun time. It's Road to Perdition from 2000.
Okay.
2002, directed by Sam Mendes and with cinematography by Conrad L. Hall. It's one of the most gorgeous movies I've ever seen. It's based on a graphic novel by Max Allan Collins and Richard Piers Rayner, so it's a comic book movie. And in a way, I get that why they cast Tom Hanks in here, because you want him as the father figure that you care for and you go with. But in a way, I think maybe Tom Hanks is a little miscast in this, because I don't really buy him as a murderer. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I buy him as a loving father, and it's fun how he takes his son around. And it's let's see, what's the actor's name? The little kid, Tyler Hoechlin, who's now Superman in the TV series.
Oh
right?
my gosh,
became
right.
Superman.
I forgot that.
So he's following Hanks. And then you have Paul Newman in his last performance, and it's a great Paul Newman performance. You have Jude Law playing like the sniveling little rat character.
Yeah.
But I love the idea of it's a father taking his son on the lam and just trying to teach him the ways, and his son's just watching how his dad navigates all these things. It's like The Godfather. Whenever you see the color orange, it's death. Whenever you see water in this movie, whether it's rain or a bathtub or anything like that, it signifies death. Whenever you see water, somebody's going to die. So it's very symbolic that way. But again, it's a very gorgeous looking movie, and it's a very sad, melancholy movie. I just love the movie as, even though Tom Hanks is maybe miscast, I love it as a piece and as an experience and as a comic book adaptation.
Right. So this movie is not in my top 10. I've only seen Road to Perdition one time. I watched it when I did a best Tom Hanks performances article a couple years ago. I figured, I'm like, okay, I need to watch as many movies as I can. And his performance is good. It's like I don't think he's like horribly miscast, but it definitely is against type.
Yeah,
for sure. Obviously, being like a murderer. I don't remember a lot of it that well. Admittedly, I remember I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I remember thinking Paul Newman was really good too. I do remember the scene. Are they like in a cabin or a house or something? And Jude Law comes in and he's like dying on the floor and
taking pictures of him, right?
Right. Creepy.
Yeah. Well, it's heartbreaking because, again, I think what Tom Hanks, like I said, you get him because you want the father side of him, and that stuff he nails, right? Even though the cold-blooded killer doesn't. But I love the idea that he's trying to raise his son to maybe not be like him, and his son has the chance to shoot the Jude Law character at the end.
See, I don't remember any of this. Any of this.
Basically, the son, because they make it to this house where that's their safety. They have to make it to this house, and they do. But Jude Law's already there, and he shoots Tom Hanks dead, and he's dying on the floor. And the son comes up. Michael Sullivan Jr. comes up with the gun, and he has a chance to kill the Jude Law character, to kill McGuire. And it's just an elongated moment, and you're like, don't become like your dad. You don't want that to happen. And yeah, the dad is alive long enough to basically shoot Jude Law and take him out before the sun.
I remember that now. Yeah. Now that you say it, I can picture it in my head. Yeah.
Right. But I just love that it's a very visual movie.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I just love that it was a very visual movie. What were you saying? Sorry.
Oh, just that it's he doesn't want his son to be like him.
Right.
Even though he's dying, it's like this is like his last act as a father. I'm going to do this for you. So yeah, it is. It's a great movie. But yeah, because I've only seen it one time, I can't really say any more than what you said. But my number 6,
I've said enough.
my number 6 is Sleepless in Seattle.
Okay.
So before this video, I rewatched a bunch of movies. I knew Sleepless in Seattle well, but I'm like, well, let me rewatch it. And initially, I had it a little bit lower, and then I rewatched it, and I'm like, no, I got to put this higher, just because, you know me. I'm a big romantic. I love the rom-com. I love the romance movies. And what I love about this movie is, it has that magical combo of Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, Nora Ephron.
Yep.
And the movie has like that magical quality. It's unabashedly romantic. It's shot beautifully. It has a beautiful soundtrack with all these, old school songs, which,
right.
Side note, why don't they make movies with this sort of music anymore?
Exactly.
Jimmy Durante and, Harry Connick Jr. and, all the lovely like standards and stuff like that. I love, that's like one of my favorite kinds of music. And that's one of the best parts of the film. And for a movie that feels like it has this magic to it, I love how that's like a theme to the movie, where they talk about, when he helped his wife out of the car, he just felt it, he just felt that magic. And I love when she's listening to it and she says magic at the same time as him. So, just little things like that. And I love how it's a movie that loves movies, So it's funny. My favorite scene in the movie is actually when Rita Wilson is talking about An Affair to Remember.
Right.
Crying her eyes out. And, and the kid's like, is she okay? She's fine.
Yeah.
And then they, of course, riff on it, well, I cried at the end of The Dirty Dozen, and Victor Garber's like, stop it, it's just hilarious. It makes me laugh so much. And
well, even Rita Wilson can't help but laugh. That's how charming it is, right?
Yeah. It is funny that his wife is playing like it's like a sister-in-law.
All right.
That is funny. But I'm not thinking about that when I'm watching it. But so, spoiler alert, the other movie with them is on this list, and this one is lower only because they're barely together in the movie.
Right.
They're only in the one scene, or no, 2 scenes together. Or no, I'm sorry, three scenes, but 2 scenes where they're talking, and he sees her, but she doesn't see her, and then they see each other on the street, and yeah, she's like, all I could say was hello. And I love Rosie O'Donnell's like, it's a sign, because it's just like An Affair to Remember. Yeah, it's a sign I've watched this movie too much.
Yeah.
And I love that it's, it's a romantic fantasy, but at the same time, you're like, you just go with it. It's just romantic, because I know people will criticize it. It's like, oh, she's acting kind of like a stalker.
Yep.
And I guess she kind of is, but I always think context matters. And I'm like, okay, yeah. If she was some creepy weirdo or something, yeah. But she's not. She's just someone who was just so touched by this person. And she even acknowledges the fact that I'm like, it's a not normal behavior,
she calls it out.
Yeah. Yeah. But she's just like, I have to see if this is something. And I love the little boy. And I wrote down, his a hoe. My dad's been captured by a hoe. And didn't you feel attraction? You wouldn't let me. And yeah, I love how he's a brat to the girl that he's the woman that he's dating. It's
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, and she is, she's perfectly nice, but she is annoying. She does have an annoying laugh, and you're like, okay, I can see why this kid is just not feeling it. And
Mhm.
I didn't write this down, but I really like Bill Pullman's character because there's absolutely nothing wrong with his character. He's
Nope.
so sweet. And yeah, what's his flaw? He has allergies. I mean, so what? And she's
Yeah.
not even really bothered by it. She just, it's like that's just who he is. He can't help that he has allergies and stuff. And I love just how sweet he is when she's breaking up with him, and it's like, I don't deserve you. I wouldn't say that, but sure, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like, it's the kind of thing a lot of people talk about in these movies, like, why are they together? There's nothing wrong with him. It's like, it's not because there's something wrong with him. Like when there's love triangles, sometimes, it's clear, the other guy's a big jerk, like in The Wedding Singer. Of course, she's not going to end up with Glenn. He's
Mhm.
nass,
He's a cartoon, is what Glenn is.
Yeah, he's just a jackass caricature, sort of thing. But this one, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just not the right person for her.
Exactly. Yep.
It has to be the right person. And when Tom Hanks is describing to Jonah that, your mother could peel an apple in one long string, and you see in a scene Meg Ryan doing that. She didn't know that. That's not something that she hears on the radio. That's
It's
just
something
this
that
little,
we know. Yeah.
it's just that little connection between them, and it's just
lovely.
it's just so sweet, and lovely, and I just love how romantic it is, and funny, so well written. Nora Ephron is such a phenomenal writer, naturalistic writer. Nothing feels like phony to me. I love when they're asking Gabby Hoffman, the little girl, where is she? And she's like, NY. And her dad's like, no way. Like, no, that's NW. New York, It's just, little things like that. And it's so cute. And of course, the end, so romantic. And he just holds out his hand for her. And
yeah,
I know it's not in your top 10, but you said you love this movie. So
yeah, I don't. Again, putting this top 10 list together, just the movies that made the top 10 mean more to me. Like, I love Sleepless in Seattle. I think it's magic, right? I just think that if you look at Road to Perdition just means more to me because it's a father-son story, and I really side with that a lot more. And this is too, in a way. But what I love about it's magic, and you touched upon some things that I really like. Yeah, she's a stalker, right? She's stalkerish, but I love that she calls herself out on that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that I think a stalker doesn't realize that they're doing it, right? And so the way that and it's weird, it is weird. But the fact is, like, with love, you have to take chances. As weird as they are, you have to take a chance just to see where it goes. Otherwise, you're going to regret it. Like, you're going to regret just sitting on the sidelines, not doing anything with that, right? I love the idea. It's very lovely, the stuff how he loses his wife and the kid he wants his dad to be happy. This has maybe my favorite Tom Hanks line in any movie, and I don't know if a lot of people laugh at it, but I just adore it. It's when basically Jonah's got on the phone with him and he's like, talk to her, dad. She's a doctor. And he goes, of what? Her first name could be doctor. I just think that's so funny. It's such a funny, because again, Tom Hanks plays that. Obviously he's trying to be the responsible father, but he's also lonely, and he's heartbroken, and so you just want him to. So I love all that. Again, I love Sleeps in Seattle. The thing that I love most of all, especially about Nora Ephron's writing, and this is something that this movie shares with You've Got Mail, is that the other characters, the other love interests, you've got Bill Pullman and you've got Barbara Garrick in this, you've got Greg Kinnear and Parker Posey, and they're not horrible people. They're just not right. And the writing tells you that. There are little details that tell they're not on the same page. The way that Hanks and Ryan's character will be on the same page. You know what I mean? So I love that they're not written as cartoons. That's the one thing that as soon as it's revealed that Glenn is a cartoon in The Wedding Singer, it's like, oh, this is a movie I'm not supposed to take very seriously, right? Because he's a full-on cartoon. So I love that the Pullman character in this is such a human being that he's like, look, Annie, I love you, But you know what? Let's take that off the table. That doesn't matter right now, right? It's he's gonna make somebody very happy someday. It's just not her. And I love how that's a part of the story. Again, just very lovely writing in this. I love it. It just didn't make my top 10 because it didn't mean as much personal to me as some others.
Sure. Okay, so are we up to your number 5?
Yeah, my number 5 will be Big.
Okay.
And we did a little short episode on it. Big is the movie that made me fall in love with Tom Hanks.
Sure.
And the way that he plays Josh Baskin, he obviously studied with the actor that plays him as younger. He doesn't play Josh as a cartoon when he's grown up. He literally plays him as a teen. There's something, and you can see this in a lot of the other body swap movies that came out around this time, like 18 Again or Like Father, Like Son. Those movies are complete cartoons, and or vice versa, even with Judge Reinhold. I don't find a lot of stuff that's very human about those movies. Everybody's playing every line for the cheapest, funniest laugh that they can. That's not Big. Again, you've got Penny Marshall directing this. This was the first movie directed by a woman to crack that $100 million mark at the box office. And it's very deserving. Like I said, I love that I have 2 movies from her that did crack that. But like I said, Tom Hanks, he's playing all these nuances where you see him play a 13-year-old who matures into a 30-year-old, right? And yeah, there's the problematic stuff where, the Elizabeth Perkins character, Susan, sleeps with a 13-year-old boy, basically.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know that, right? And he's at a place where she calls it out. He's acting more like a grown-up than a lot of the grown-ups she's acting around. And it even ends at the part where she takes agency over that. She doesn't kiss him at the end on the lips when she finds out. She kisses him on the forehead, and he gives a look of, I understand, because I'm 13. And he has to give that up. The movie ends in a way where you don't want it to end. I don't know if that makes any sense. You get this feeling in your heart where you're like, oh, I want this movie to keep going. I could spend hours in this world, but it has to end. It has to get to a certain point. You have this stuff with Mercedes Rule. It's a little cruel how they don't cut away to her, and that's where the pain is, because she's lost her child. She doesn't know what's going on, but that is in there every now and then. I just think that the Hank stuff, when he charms everybody because he's not a fake adult. When they're at FAO Schwartz and he's dancing, that the iconic scene of maybe any Tom Hanks movie, when they're dancing on the piano playing chopsticks, it's so charming. You can see him win Robert Logia's character over. That's all that Josh Baskin does the whole movie, is he wins over everybody by getting them back in touch with their childish side. Even Susan is jumping on the trampoline at one point, right? Yeah. I don't know. The idea was to have Robert De Niro originally in the part, and that automatically adds a creep factor to the movie, because Tom Hanks has a warmth to him, right? That would make that work. Robert De Niro, I don't think, has that. It would come off as a 13-year-old trying to bet a 30-year-old.
Oh my God, right? That would have been terrible.
And then they wanted, when they cast Deborah Winger, I think they wanted to cast her in the Elizabeth Perkins part, and she told Penny Marshall, I think we should switch it and we should make this about a girl who's 13 that becomes an adult. But then Penny Marshall was like, but then you're having a guy sleeping with a 13-year-old girl, which is somehow worse. You know what I mean? So I just think that Penny Marshall, she threads that needle so perfectly here, where it is creepy in a way and it is a little weird, but she does it in a playful way where they don't quite go to the lengths that of an R-rated raunchy comedy of the 80s would go on. But again, it all comes down to Tom Hanks. As much as I love the rest of the movie, it's all him. He's so likable and he's so nuanced, and you just love every moment that he's on screen in this.
And I certainly can't picture Robert De Niro. I can't picture anyone else in this role. Yeah, it's true. He makes the movie because he's just so believable as this like 13-year-old kid. It is not in my top 10. It's probably like 11, 12. I don't know. The only reason it didn't make my top 10 is for that problematic thing. Because it's a little weird. It would, I do think it's handled as well as you can handle it. Okay. And it probably would be worse if the genders were reversed. Mm-hmm. I think people would definitely look at it worse. But I didn't think about it when I was young watching it, but I look at it differently now as an adult, because how old? He's 13.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm like, I have a nephew, and I'm like, he's almost that age.
Well, he's 12 and he turns 13 during the movie, so
Yeah.
that's a little bit worse.
But I still love the movie, and it's fun and funny and poignant, and I love the iconic moment on the piano with Robert Loggia, and that's just so fun. And it's true. I love when he spits out the caviar because he just can't stand it. I mean, that's like something a kid would do, obviously, if they literally cannot stand it. And it's like, you want something? Can I have a milkshake?
Or the way he eats the corn.
Yeah.
The little corn.
Oh,
so charming.
Right. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I watched it a lot when I was younger, so I remember it well. And yeah, it's such a fun movie. And I love Big. So my number 5 is Catch Me If You Can, which we've already talked about.
Okay.
So we're going to skip me for now and go into your number 4.
We had talked about that. We talked about Castaway.
Oh, okay.
So we'll skip me and go back to you.
Okay. Well, my number 4 is Apollo 13.
Okay. My number 3 is Apollo 13. So we can basically just combine the conversation.
That is a movie. That's a movie I actually I saw in theaters twice.
Mm-hmm.
It came out in the summertime, so summer vacation. I was trying to remember. I don't remember who I saw it with first. So I saw it like with my parents and my brother. And then I also saw it with my aunt and uncle and cousins, because my cousins lived somewhere else. They their parents were divorced, and then my uncle remarried, so they were in San Diego for the summertime. So we all went to the movies to see it. I'm not sure which came first, but whatever, doesn't really matter. I love the movie enough that I'm like, let's see it more than once, So I'm someone that grew up with my dad and my brother both loved NASA and space exploration. So by proxy, I kind of, grew up loving it. In elementary school, I did like a little report on NASA and stuff like that. So I knew what happened, like the basics of what happened in the movie ahead of time, but, didn't know obviously every last detail. So. But Apollo 13 is one of those movies where you know what's going to happen going in. They get home. Unless you obviously know nothing. Obviously, some people might go into it not knowing anything, but a lot of people did. But you are still so tense watching this movie. Even though they make it home safely. But I'm white knuckling it, during some of those moments. I remember being in the theater like that, especially the moment when I had to ask my dad, I'm like, what exactly are they doing? They had to keep the earth in the window. They were burning things out to line up their trajectory, so they won't, when they go home, they're not going to like skip off, basically floating away into space. I am so nervous watching that scene, and as nervous as they are, like practically like sweating, going, when it's over, going, thank God, sort of thing. And that is just, I think, a testament to great filmmaking.
Mm-hmm.
I think, though I haven't seen a lot of Ron Howard's movies, of the ones I've seen, I think this is my favorite. And I think it's his best. I literally cannot believe this was nominated for so many Oscars, but he was not nominated for Best Director.
Right.
I'm like, what? What? I'm like, that's just insane. I'm like, okay, apparently this movie directed itself. That's just nuts to me. I think it just builds the tension just builds. So it's just such a masterful and like to dramatic tension. And I love how even like little things you go, oh, that probably didn't happen. No, it did. It did. Mm-hmm. Like her losing her wedding ring in the drain.
Down the drain. Mm-hmm.
That really happened. And just little things like that. The kid he was off at school. He wasn't with his family. He was in the military school and stuff. And there's just, so much I love about this film. wonderful performances. Tom Hanks obviously is wonderful in it, but I think the entire cast are just phenomenal, especially Ed Harris.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He was nominated for an Oscar. He could have won. I don't remember who won instead.
Kevin Spacey won for
Kevin Spacey.
Usual Suspects.
Oh, I haven't seen that film, so I can't judge it. I don't like Kevin Spacey anymore, but
yeah,
I know he, take that out of the equation. He is a great actor, so I can see probably why he might have won. But Kevin Bacon is great, and Bill Paxton, and it's another movie that captures that era so well. Like Spielberg, Ron Howard can capture an era so perfectly without beating you over the head with it, just with subtleties, music, and stuff. And I really love the little part at the beginning where he's doing the thing with his thumb covering the moon.
Yeah.
I just thought that was just such a sweet little detail, and I love the Ed Harris's speech about, we never lost an American in space, and we're not going to on my watch. Failure is not an option. I'm sure that was real. I'm sure that's a real speech he gave. And the whole thing with the vest. It's like, oh, it almost didn't come in time.
Right. Yep.
And it's just little things, with the kids, like she's telling a little boy, something broke, and he's like, was it the door? Because that's what broke before. And that the moment with when they're going to tell his mother, and that little girl, she's not even saying anything, but you could just see it on her face, like she's trying not to cry, and she just can't help it. And I'm like, God, good acting, kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when they bring a Buzz Aldrin and Lance Armstrong to keep her company, and she's like, are you boys in the space program too?
Right.
And my favorite line is it's actually Kevin Bacon, when Bill Paxton, Fred Hayes, he's like, oh shoot, I figured the arithmetic for only two of us. He's like, well, why don't I just hold my breath? Like, you guys didn't want me up here anyway, and and you can sense the guilt he feels, because it's like he's the one who pushed it, but it doesn't matter. And I love that moment when Tom Hanks, Jim Lovell's like, if I was sitting there, I would have done it. It doesn't matter right now. What matters is we're gonna get home.
Yeah.
And the realization when they lost the moon is, sort of breaks your heart, and you could see it on his face. But I love the moment when he's like, we're going to get home. And I asked, my dad was telling me, because he's like, because he was a fighter pilot, that's the mentality he has. Nothing matters anymore. We just focus on getting us back home. And the ending is just so powerful. And when it goes longer than what it normally does. And I rewatched it the other night. I've seen it a lot, but I'm still crying because the score comes in, and that's a beautiful score. I believe it's James Horner.
Yep, it is.
Yeah, he's a great composer. Rest in peace. He did beautiful scores, and it's just such a powerful, well-made film. And on a funny note, it's one of the movies. So, do you ever play 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Who doesn't?
So there are three movies that I end on the most, and one of them is Apollo 13. The other two are A Few Good Men and Mystic River. So those 3 movies, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, what are your thoughts on the movie?
Well, I saw this in theaters, and this was one of those movies where I think Batman Forever was the movie I was looking most forward to this summer. And then there's always seems to be a movie that comes out that ends up being my favorite movie of the summer instead of the one I was most looking forward to. And so that was Apollo 13. I think I agree with you on a lot of stuff. I think this is Ron Howard's best movie. Technically, it's perfection. I love how they went up on the Vomit Comet to get the weightless sequences, and they had all the actors go up and experience that. I love that. I love that this is a movie about smart people doing smart things. It's all of them going after one goal. There's no clear villain. And when characters start to act like villains, that's when they're called out for it. I love how, they're talking at the end, finally, when they're going into the blackout, and you have the two characters, I think the Xander Berkeley characters, they're like, this could be the worst experience that NASA's ever had. And Ed Harris, he basically says, with all due respect, sir, I believe this is going to be our finest hour. Right.
Yeah.
And so everybody seems to be correct. Gene Kranz. The movie, just the authenticity. You talk about how some things, well, that couldn't happen, but it did. There's a channel called History Buffs where Nick Hodges will take you through movies that are historical, and he'll compare them to what actually happened. And Apollo 13 is one of his top most authentic movies. He says, yeah, there are some things like, you can tell there's a tenseness in the actors' voices when they're playing it out. But if you listen to the actual NASA recordings, there's no tenseness because they're all just very calm and calculated. But even Nick Hodges says, it's a movie. You can't have them just be cool and calculated. The movie is about drama. Movies are all about drama. There was never a moment where they thought, again, Swigert, when there was never a moment where they thought he couldn't dock the two ships. There was that never happened. He was a very, very capable pilot, but because it's a movie, you want to add that drama. We don't know that there was infighting on the ship, right? But the fact that I love that part where, they're yelling at each other, and Lovell's like, we're not going to do this right now. We're not going to go bouncing around for 10 minutes blaming each other when we're just going to end up at the same place. And then NASA comes on. Are we on Vox? Yeah, we're on Vox. And he clicks and goes, yes, I'm here. Like NASA, well, how can we help? I think that kind of is a cool way to say, it might not have happened this way, but we do expect them to get upset and stressed out about stuff. But it still does a thing where, their voices are calm and collected because that's how they want to be presented, right? And it's funny watching reactors. I watch a lot of reaction videos.
Me too.
Marianne, just trying to see how people watch movies. And it's infuriating when people watch this movie, number one, and they don't, at the end, people are going, was this a true story?
Oh my God.
And I'm like, how can you? First of all, I don't understand the appeal. I don't understand what the nuances of being a reactor. Are you supposed to go into things blind? Like, you don't want to research anything? But even then, it's like, you don't know. You don't have a cursory knowledge of history that you wouldn't know that NASA is real and this is real.
God.
And then they're also, it's
Weird.
there's the moment where you talked about it, where where Lovell's like, he realized he's lost the moon, and they have a moment where they stop, and when the reactors watch, they're like, what's the big deal? Like, you're supposed to get back home. They don't understand the nuances of why. It's like they're not watching the movie, Marianne. They don't realize that these characters, that's their dream to land on the moon. They're this close, and they don't get it. So they have to have a moment where they're like, we just lost it. But these people will watch and go, I don't understand why they're so upset about things. You know what I mean? Like, just get moving. And it's like, well, it's the nuances. All those little nuances in the movie are the big part of why I love this movie. Yeah, it's authentic and all that stuff. The performances are great, but there's so many human moments. And you have Mattingly, the Gary Sinise character on the ground, figuring stuff out. I love that. And when they tell, like, there's the crew's stressed out, and when they say Ken Mattingly's working on it, they calm down a little bit because they know they have somebody that can handle. I don't know. It's just a movie of details. I love everything. And like you said, when it comes down to, actually, they were in blackout for 6 minutes. It wasn't just 4 minutes. They were in blackout for 6 in real life. But they cut that back because that might have not been believable. But I think you cry at the end because it's just a happy cry, and we're so stressed out that we finally get a moment where it's just joy and success. And I think that's why it just makes us emotional at the end.
And I love that when you see that montage at the end, you see Tom Hanks shake hands with the real Jim Lovell. I think that's really sweet. And now, just to maybe play devil's advocate a little bit, depending on how old some of these reactors are, NASA is kind of out of the collective consciousness a lot these days. And that's probably, maybe they don't teach them that much in school. I remember learning a little bit, but they skimmed over it. That's why I love films that can teach you history, like Apollo 13, even if not everything is 100% how it went. Enough of it is that, it can teach you things. And, maybe that's the reason, or they're just stupid or something, or lack maturity. I don't know how to watch movies. I know it is frustrating when you're watching something and they're so focused on something else instead of what they're watching. Like, I watch, one of my favorite TV shows was Lost, and I've watched a lot of reactions to that, and it bothers me. Have you seen that show?
Yep, I watched it.
Okay, so it bothers me when the scene when Charlie closes the door and they're so, and the water starts rising. They're so focused on, they're like, wait a minute, he could probably get out. What's he doing? What is he doing? I'm like, he is making his choice to save Desmond. He's accepting his fate. And you're so focused on the logistics. Oh, maybe he can open that window or something, that you're not focused on the powerful emotion of this scene. And it bugs the heck out of me.
Exactly.
When people react that way. So I completely understand where you're coming from. I've never watched anyone react to Apollo 13, but yeah, that it would bug me when, like, is this based on a true story? Like, are you kidding?
Well, I've seen them watch movies like Tombstone, and at the end they're like, we're Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday, real people.
Oh,
and I'm
Lord.
like, at least have an understanding of what you're watching instead of being, and when you say stuff like that, you're revealing yourself as a noob, like as somebody who is not aware of certain things. So I don't know. That's
kind of sad, but
yeah,
a lot of them are like that, though. But
it's true.
Anyway, so my number 3 was A League of Their Own, and this was your number 3. So did you talk about your number 2?
No, number 2 is the only one I haven't talked about yet, and that's
okay. And my number 1 is my only one. So
okay, perfect. It's funny how that worked out. My number 2 is Saving Private Ryan.
Of course, yeah. Okay.
It's a movie. Like I said, right now we've gone back and we're covering a lot of 90s movies again. Whereas where Johnny and I for Nostalgia Cast have cut our teeth. And we had our list of movies that we're covering. We're basically covering 4 movies per year. And I did not have Schindler's List as one of my 1993 movies. I did not have Private Ryan as one of my 98 movies. And Johnny said, that's weird. I thought you would have picked those. And to me, for our show, I don't think it's right to nitpick and point out flaws and filmmaking weirdness in movies like Schindler's List, where that's not the point. The point of Schindler's List is not really for entertainment. It feels kind of trivial and disrespectful to point out how an edit doesn't match when it's a movie about how the hundreds of thousands of Jews had perished during that time, right? I don't think. Same thing with Private Ryan. Like the other stuff I can nitpick, like the storytelling in the middle half. I think the first act is so strong. The third act is so strong because we know the characters. We don't want them to die because it's one of us. It's like seeing one of our brothers or family members die. The second half is kind of weaker because it's more meandering. They're trying to figure out what everything. So that's a flaw. But at the end of the day, this movie is so important because the way that Spielberg shot it with like the shaky cam and the desaturated colors, it felt like a documentary. People weren't ready for it. People didn't know what World War II was like until this movie. And the violence in the first act is so shocking because it's so much. It's literal carnage and it's pointless carnage. And you're seeing bodies just decimated and it's harrowing. But this movie captures that feeling of war better than I think almost any war movie ever made. It's so horrifying, and you feel, Marianne, the visual storytelling in that first act, how everything is so chaotic, and you're slowly picking up on faces, you're slowly picking up on strategies. There's so much sound and fury, and then you latch onto certain characters, and you see a strategy being built where they're taking control of that beach, of Omaha Beach, right? That first 30 minutes is so masterful as storytelling in a way that only Spielberg can do. And it just, like, literally there were grandparents and great grandparents that fought in that war that couldn't talk about it, and their great grandkids and their grandkids saw this movie and realized what what these soldiers had gone through, and they were able to talk to each other about it for the first time. I think that's so important. And like I said, when you lose, you get to know these characters, because you know the impact of what their bodies are going to go through. When they start dying off, it hurts. It really hurts, because they're like members of your family. And Tom Hanks, this is one of those performances. Like I said, Philadelphia and Forrest Gump did not make my top 10 or even top 15, even though I think he's good in those.
Mm-hmm.
Here again, he's playing the Gary Cooper character, the Jimmy Stewart character. There's nothing totally like groundbreaking about his performance, right? But he is the everyman. He's us in that war. He's a teacher that's losing his way. There's a scene where he loses Wade, the medic, and he goes off by himself. And he has a moment where he's just by himself and he's trying to be the leader, but he just breaks down because he's lost another, and he pushes himself out of eyesight, right? And he's just sobbing. And it's so human, and it's even more than the scene with the volleyball, as Miller is just losing it and he's trying to hide it. It's so human, and it just breaks my heart, because you're watching Tom Hanks, this actor that you love, this exemplar of humanness and kindness, just breaking down because it's just, the whole movie's masterful like that. It's the way that it has his tremor, and just at the end when his hand is not shaking anymore, how heartbreaking. This is just, this movie is one of those movies that changes you when you walk in to when you walk out. You're a different person.
Right. Yeah. So I want to emphasize, I think I forgot to say this. This is favorite movies, not necessarily like best. So if I was saying best, I would have put Saving Private Ryan. I don't know where I put it, but I would put it in my top 10, because it is a brilliant film. And literally the only reason it's not in my favorite movies is because it's hard to watch, especially the beginning. It's how many have I only seen it one time? I think so. Or one and a half. Like I saw it, and then I saw like another, like it was on or something, and I watched the rest of it or something. And it's so powerful, but very, very heart-wrenching and violent. So because of that, it's not in my top 10, because it's like it's difficult for me to watch it. Because
that's an important delineation, right? Or whatever that word is. But yeah, it's important.
And especially because it was real. This isn't fake. This is not some fake story, where, you can not laugh off violence, but, if you're watching some sort of fantasy or something, it's easier to watch, because you're like, this didn't really happen, but this did. Omaha Beach was a real horrific event where so many people died. So,
and there were cases of actual soldiers that their families had died, and so they went to save and bring. So that's very factual. It's just a fictionalized version of all of that.
Right. And I remember hearing stories of people who watched it and like they just had to walk away. They couldn't even talk about it. Same thing with I tried the same thing with Schindler's List. Like you can't even say anything after watching it. And so powerful. Yeah, one of Steven Spielberg's best movies, and I'm glad it won him his Oscars and everything. And or did it? No, that was Schindler's List. Did he win an Oscar for Saving Private Ryan?
Yeah, he won Best Director, which
didn't win Best Picture. That's right. That's the big controversial one.
Yeah, people are because Shakespeare in Love one, which we did an episode. I love Shakespeare in Love. I think it's a wonderful, rich movie. So I don't have any problem with that. And again, I can separate myself from the Oscars, but if Spielberg hadn't won Best Director for this, like I said, especially that first half hour, I would have been upset. So,
I've seen both. Having seen both movies, I think Saving Private Ryan should have won. I know it's like comparing apples to oranges; those are completely different kinds of movies. Okay. But even if you can judge them together, I do think Saving Private Ryan's a better movie. But it's not like I dislike Shakespeare in Love, so it's not like I'm throwing a fit or something that it won or something, because I think some people like hated that movie or something. No, I liked it.
Yeah.
But so we only have one movie left. It's my number one. My number one is You've Got Mail, which I'm sure
All
you
right.
guessed.
Perfect.
I'm sure you guessed.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
It's a great choice. I first of all, I love what you said about favorite versus best. It's a personal thing, right? Obviously, my top five, like I said, my bottom five, you can rearrange them because they're just so fun and rewatchable, right? But my top five are just the movies that changed me, I guess, as I watch. So I don't.
Sure.
That's how I organize my list. But number one, you having Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail on your list, that gives me a chance to talk about them because I left them off my list and I was like, oh man. But then I was like, I'm pretty sure Marianne's going to have those on. So I'll still be able to talk about them. So I love that you have that as your number one. It's definitely a worthy choice.
Yeah. And I'm glad you had Big and Saving Private Ryan on your list because they weren't in my top 10. And I love those movies. There is one, I'll talk about it when I'm done with talking about You've Got Mail, that was so close to my top 10 that I love that neither of us put in our top 10. So, but first, so You've Got Mail. Again, it's that magic of Tom Hanks, Meg Ryan, Nora Ephron. But I like this one better because they are together a lot in the movie. And we get to have that chemistry with them, that banter. It's my favorite movie from either actor. Mm-hmm. It's my favorite romantic comedy.
Good.
Like on my letterbox of top 4 favorite movies, it's my number 2. I mean, that's a little hard. I mean, I could probably put other movies in my top 4, but I'm like, okay, what does my heart tell me? And I put that one in there. And I just love it. I know you like me. You also love Shop Around the Corner, which this is a remake of.
Yeah.
And I love that movie. But as much as I love that movie, I do like this one more. Mm-hmm. So my one criticism of Shop Around the Corner is that sometimes Margaret Sullivan's acting I don't care for.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Some of it. And it does get a little dark with the attempted, suicide. So that is why I like You've Got Mail more, because they take out the darker elements and keep it lighter. Mm-hmm. And I like all the supporting characters and actors in this movie. I feel like you really get to know them. I think the cast is just, so great. Greg Kinnear, Parker Posey, Gene Stapleton, Steve Zahn, Heather Burns, Dave Chappelle. Am I forgetting anyone?
Dabney Coleman.
Yeah. Even like the nanny and the
yeah.
and the kids are so cute. The little kids, such great little actors. And I recently rewatched a thing with them, them from a few years ago, and they look the same, basically, just older.
Wow.
Okay. And they were so cute and had such fond memories. But
you mean his brother and his aunt, Joe's
yes.
brother?
Yes. This is just a movie where I think it's like Sleepless in Seattle. Yes, it's like a fantasy, but I still feel like it's believable because, and even I feel like it's still, even though it's like a 1990s time capsule with the email and the way things are,
the dialogue.
People still private message each other and in that way, and get to know each other that way. But I think the big difference between like now and then is we have lost kind of or maybe it's because these characters are maybe more mature than a lot of people nowadays. I think we've lost sort of the elegance to it. They are still almost, they're short, but they're still kind of like letters, and yeah, they're casual, but there's still like meaning to them, even when they're talking about, mundane things. They still have like a meaning to them. And that's one of the reasons I love this movie. I love the connection between two people. And the aesthetics, the music. So they make New York look pretty, which, definitely isn't always. I've never been to New York personally, but I want to go there so I can go on my little You've Got Mail tour and go to the real life places that they filmed at, go to the cafe and stuff. And I love the music, the tone, just everything about it. Of course, the chemistry between them is so funny, and some of it, so much of it, is written because Nora Ephron, and she wrote it with her sister Delia. They're such great writers, but some of it is just because it's Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan. These little mannerisms, the way they say the line, the affectations. And so I watched the audio commentary with Nora Ephron and one of the producers, because I wanted to see if she would talk about that sort of thing.
Okay.
And she did. She talked about things that like they just did on their own. So when they meet in the bookstore and they're leaving, and he closes the door and the balloon's still in the door, he's like, "Good thing it wasn't the fish," So they just ad-lib that, and their laugh is natural. It was just them laughing at it, and the whole thing, like when they're talking back and forth, and he starts doing the whole Godfather thing, and that was just that. She's like, "That's all Tom. That's just him, just doing it, like, because he's a big Godfather fan." And the thing with and one of my favorite lines, "That caviar is a garnish." And she starts taking the caviar off of his plate and putting it back. That was just Meg Ryan doing that on her own. Just little things like that, that they bring to the movie that make it what it is. Rom-coms aren't good if they don't have good actors.
Exactly. It's the chemistry.
And good good actors and good writing with good chemistry. And I think, they don't make very many anymore. And I'm like, is it because they don't have good enough actors to cast? I mean, I don't think that's the only reason, but I think, even some of the more recent ones, they were fine, but they don't have that special kind of thing that these actors have. And even the supporting people. I'm glad you brought that up about how Parker Posey and Grey Kinnear, there's nothing wrong with them per se. They just aren't right for them. And Nora Ephron brings up the point where Meg Ryan, so Kathleen Kelly, she's talking about, she's like, "I'm wondering about my work and whether I matter." And he just stops her and he's like, you're a lone read. And they're like, this is a perfect example of him not listening to her.
It makes it about him instead of her.
And he starts, typing his little thing, and he's like, he's not listening to her concerns. And he's a sweet man,
charming, but he's Greg Kinnear.
He's handsome, and you could see why on paper she would think he was so right for her, but that's not how love works.
They say that to each other.
And they do. And I love that scene. And I love that he says, is there someone else? And it's like, no, there's just the dream of someone else. And and then they go into that song, and, just little things like that just make me, I've seen this movie probably more than any, This and That Thing You Do. It's probably a toss up which one I've seen more.
Okay.
But it's one I love to quote. And I think, did I write down some of these quotes? Some of the ridiculous ones from the supporting people. So I love Heather Burns' character. So I love when they're talking and no one's in there, and George is like, talking about his wonderful rent controlled apartment, and she's like, "I can't believe you're bringing this up. It's like those people that brag because they're tall," which I'm like, do people brag when they're tall? I'm like, that's just such a random thing. And I just find that so hilarious. I'm like, that's just great writing. And what was the other one? Oh, when he doesn't, she's like, "Oh, he stood you up." And George puts the paper down. He's like, it's this. And she's like, oh, so that explains it. I'm like, he's not the rooftop killer. And she's
Remember
like,
when you
Frank uniform.
Yeah.
It's just, that is what makes the movie, in addition to the romantic parts and Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan and their chemistry and that scene when he comes to visit her. And I love, they said that's the only other scene besides the one in the cafe, which I love, which is very, very similar to both Shop Around the Corner and In the Good Old Summertime. But the other scene that was similar was when he visits her because she's sick and brings her something. But that's really where the resemblance stops. And he gets into her apartment and keeps finding ways to be closer to her, and, he brings her daisies because he did listen to her. He only heard her say that once, but he remembered that. And she wasn't even talking to him. She was talking to his
imaginary self.
Aunt, his aunt.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
And so, that just brings up, so he does listen to her in real life and through their emails. And that's why, even though they're different, she said it's kind of like posing the question, could you fall in love with someone who thinks very differently politically about things? So, and sure you could. I mean, I feel like people don't think that way nowadays, which is sad. Everyone wants to fight each other, but just watch this movie, it's possible to have common ground with people who you don't think you would. And that's just all these little things, all those little affectations. Do you have a vase, a vase, a vase? It probably doesn't say that. The script, I'm sure, doesn't say that. He just adds that, and
feels so natural, right?
It does. And I love when he's making her tea, and he's like, "Honey, I was the horrible one," and it's like, it could be that he's asking her if she wants honey, or it could be he's calling her honey.
Well, she says yes when he says honey.
Yeah. I love that you could take that both ways.
Very smart.
Just all those little things. And just let's see, anything else down. All their little things, their banter back and forth, when she's talking about him, and obviously he knows she's talking about him. So it's like, what's his handle? Said, I don't want to say it.
Right.
And
I'm not going to write him. Is that what you're afraid of?
And they keep saying, oh, what 152 felony indictments, pot marks. And the 152 insights into my soul, and he does that thing. I'm like, only Tom Hanks can do that and make it so charming. And that's just what I love. What else did I write? Where are my Tic Tacs? Parker Posey. Yeah, I love that scene in the elevator. So I always say a testament to a good actor is if you can tell what they're thinking just by their expression. And of course, Tom Hanks is an actor like that. And very many times in all these movies we've mentioned. But Nora Ephron points out that when he's looking at Parker Posey in the elevator, he just all of a sudden you could just see it on his face going, God, okay, this isn't going to work.
We're done, right?
Yeah. It's like she's not, and I like that she's kind of irritating, but I like that she's not like evil or anything. Like you could tell, she's nice.
She's self-involved. She's self-centered. That's it.
Yeah. But I love how you can tell that she still can be a sweet person because she's thinking about Kathleen, oh, she would be great at this job. Or when the little girl's singing and she's smiling there, she's not rolling her eyes at it. She's sitting there sweetly, as you should when this little child is performing. And I love that. I think that's, let me see. Don't cry. Oh, don't cry, shop girl. Yeah, of course I love the ending and how sweet and that he has the little handkerchief out for her.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, that's another callback to when he first met her. She said she had the handkerchief and stuff.
Right.
So
right.
just all those little things that I just love. And if someone ever brought me a bouquet of sharpened pencils, I would that would make me so happy, because it would mean someone knows me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that sort of thing. So I know I've said a lot. I don't know what else you have to you have to say, but
Well, I think you know that we did an episode on You've Got Mail. I think
yeah,
you watched that and
I
gave
did.
me some
Yeah.
feedback. So you know that I love this movie. What's really cool about this movie is there's a darkness and there's an edge to the movie, because Joe Fox, again, he's a businessman. He's a
Yeah.
millionaire, right? And he is ruthless. He does put her out of business, and he's happy about it. But then by the time he realizes, it's too late, right?
Right.
I like that. I like that. This is one of the only movies I can think of, one of the few movies where it could have double protagonists, because usually you have a protagonist as an antagonist. Each character is going through their own arc. Each character is changed because of the other character. So it just depends on which character you side with. Kathleen Kelly could be the protagonist, and it's Joe Fox is the antagonist, because he's putting her out of business and forcing her to come to terms with things in her life.
Yeah.
If you side with Joe Fox, she's the antagonist, because she's calling him out on all his bull crap, right? And she's making him become more human, and he fights against that. But I do like that they change each other. Like, he softens, like he spends less time at work, more attention on her. She has the arc where they keep saying about her, she doesn't take any chances. She's just worked at that shop for all her life. She's not going to be able to know what she does, what she's going to do. And then at the end, she's like, you know what, I'm going to start writing a book. Like, if it wasn't for him or you, I wouldn't have started writing. And so they do change each other and they affect each other. And I think that's very cool. Again, going back to the Greg Kinnear thing, my favorite line in this, we don't hate Greg Kinnear because you have that wonderful scene. And I could just watch a whole movie of Kathleen and Joe just writing to each other and helping each other out. Like I'm good at business, or like, we can't, like, if only you can help, or stuff like that. Or it's all very cute. And then he goes off on the Godfather stuff, and she doesn't get it. But then Greg Kinnear, his character, comes in, and she's like, well, do you know what it means to go to the mattress? Yeah, the Godfather. He doesn't even think about it.
Yeah.
And as a guy, you're watching it, you like him because he knows the Godfather. I just think that's very smart writing. You talk about their chemistry. There's a moment where I think Meg Ryan breaks character, and it's all because of Tom Hanks. It's when they're in the diner or whatever, and they're in the window, and he's asking, have you asked him if he's married? She's like, no, I'm not going to ask him that one. And he does this thing where he leans forward really fast, and you can see her start to smile. And I'm like, I think she broke character at that moment.
Yeah, I think so.
But what's great, they're for me, a romantic comedy, they're very predictable nowadays. You can tell but that's maybe a reason why we watch them, right? But I think what really sells it for me is the chemistry. I just think that Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan have such a fun chemistry that you can feel them when they're together. That whole last half hour when they're together and spending time with each other. And I love the part because she says, I could never be with somebody who has a boat, right? And he goes, I could never be with somebody who likes Joni Mitchell. It's like, what is she talking about here? Like, is she having a stroke? So, and you can see it in her face, but he's playing with her. But that's very naturalistic for a relationship, is you're always going to have likes and dislikes that don't match up, right? That whole last half hour when they're getting to know each other is so charming. I think I mentioned in the episode, Marianne, that when I'm trying to write something, I'll put on You've Got Mail as background, because I just love the writing and I love the way that all the characters function as human beings. So yeah, I don't want to repeat too much stuff because, again, you've said most of everything. But the other thing too is I think this movie, and oddly enough, Die Hard with a Vengeance, really capture New York. And I've been to New York because my family used to live there. So, and I can watch You've Got Mail and I can watch Die Hard with a Vengeance and go, yeah, I've been to those places in New York. I've talked to those people in New York. I like how he's like, Joe's like, I hope you don't stay sick for too long because New York is wonderful in the spring, right? I love all that. But when it comes down to it, it's just the writing and it's the chemistry between Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks that really sell this movie. It's a wonderful movie. I'm glad that you have it as your number one.
And I'm glad you mentioned the dynamic, that he puts her out of business. And obviously when I'm watching it, I love children's literature. My degree specialization is in children's literature. And when I was little, I'm like, oh, I want to be like Kathleen Kelly, and have a little bookstore. And the store is just this perfect little cozy place that you wish was real. And you're like, oh man, how could he be putting her out of business? And this is just terrible. But as I've gotten older and I've looked at it differently, like it's still heartbreaking that happens. But you have to wonder, is part of the reason she did it because she really wanted it, or is because it was her mother's store?
Right.
And I think he opened a door to a life maybe she wouldn't have had otherwise, because she loved her mother and she lost her mother. It's like, you don't know how long she's supposed to have been dead, but you have to assume it's been a while. And she wants to keep that legacy alive. She feels like she has to, sort of thing. And not that it's a burden, like she wants to, she's a joy for her. But I wonder if her mother was still alive, would she still be working there,
Right.
or would she have tried something else? So I look at that. I didn't think like that when I was younger. I was crying, when she is picturing her and her mother twirling in the store and stuff. And yeah, that's still sad. And it's still sad that the little store got put out of business by the big store, because there's something those stores have that these chain ones don't.
Right.
But for her character, it is, it can be a good thing for her, and she could do other things with her life that maybe she wouldn't have done. And and I like that aspect of the movie.
Yeah, she grows.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
So I think that's all I have to say. I do want to quickly list some other movies. So the one other movie, I won't say anything about the other ones, but the one movie I do want to say one quick thing about that didn't make my top 10. So I was debating between The Terminal and this movie to be in my number 10 spot. And it was Captain Phillips.
Okay.
So I rewatched that and I'm like, okay, which one do I like better? And I'm like, a Terminal was just, sweeter. So I'm like, okay, I'll put Terminal. Yes, number 10. But Captain Phillips is a wonderful movie, obviously another true story. And wonderful performance from Tom Hanks. It's another one of those, I'm like, God, why didn't he wasn't even nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is wrong. I looked at the gap of Oscar nominations. It was Castaway, and then it was 19 years before he got another Oscar nomination for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. 19 years. And I'm like, he should have, at the very least, got a nomination for Captain Phillips. I don't know who you take out. I haven't seen some of these other movies. But the end of that movie is so powerful and heart-wrenching, and his performance, when he's blindfolded and they take all those guys out and he's doesn't know what happened, and his horror. And then the very last scene where it's a real paramedic. And that's all just, they didn't have a script. It's just her asking him questions. And he legitimately looks like he's in shock. It doesn't seem like he's acting there. And I am crying so much at how raw and emotional this is. And I'm just like, God, he's good. He's so good. And yeah, that didn't make my top. That's probably maybe my 11 movie. So, but the other movies I listed that I love, just to show how hard it was to list only 10. Splash, which was the very first movie I ever saw with Tom Hanks, was in. It was either Splash or Big.
Okay.
It was one of those.
Splash was only his second movie. That was only his second movie.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. Sully, A Man Called Otto. That's the most recent movie with him that I love. Big. Saving Private Ryan. I love The Burbs. I know it's cheesy, but I love The Burbs. Watch it every Halloween. Bridge of Spies, real underrated movie, I think. Saving Mr. Banks, even though, like I said, he didn't quite capture Walt Disney, but he's still good in it. I love that movie.
He captured the public persona of Disney, I think.
He did. News of the World. Thought that was a great movie. I really love that. Road to Perdition. I did write down Philadelphia. It's not like my favorite movie, but I did enjoy it. And The Green Mile was the other one. Okay. And The Green Mile is funny. That's a movie. It's very good, but that's another one kind of like Saving Private Ryan. That's hard to watch. That's a heavy movie. So it's not the kind of movie, as much as I admire it, not the kind of movie I'm going to like revisit. So, but those are all the other movies I listed. Like I said, he's my most watched actor, and there are some movies I want to revisit that I've only seen once. Some movies I don't like. Don't need to bring those up. We've talked about some of them. So one with directed by Robert Zemeckis. I'm not gonna say it, but it's a really recent one. It was garbage.
Yes, it was.
Though Tom Hanks is probably maybe the only good thing in it. He tries, but
he doesn't even make an impact in that one, Marianne. That's a nothing movie.
But I'm not going to focus on the negative.
Right.
I know I would like to revisit Larry Crown, which was another movie he directed and wrote. I don't remember, like I think I liked it, but I didn't have a big impression on me. But I saw it so long ago that I'm like, I need to revisit that one. But do you have any final thoughts as far as him as an actor or just his movies?
Well, the honorable mentions that I had, you've already talked about some of them. So we don't. I had You've Got Mail, Sleepless in Seattle, The Terminal. Those are the three that I do want to mention. Forrest Gump, even though I don't like the movie, I think it's very cynical. I think he's so good in it that sometimes his performances, there's a moment where he meets his son for the first time and he's like, is he smart or is he? And in the way that it's written, it's like, I don't think Forrest would be aware of that it's heartbreaking that he's stupid, right? But Tom Hanks plays it so heartbreaking that it kills me every time. It's just because of him. He's so good in that one, even though I don't like the movie. I just forgot completely. We'll go to, I forgot what the movie was. I had another one in mind and I completely forgot about it. I guess it doesn't matter. The other one I want to talk about is A Man Called Otto, which I had that on repeat a lot. I've watched that a lot. I think I don't know if it's a terrifically well-made movie, but it teaches important lessons about empathy, about learning to care for people. And Tom Hanks has to be the master of the asshole who becomes the likable character. With The League of Their Own, with You've Got Mail, with with A Man Called Otto. He just has, and League of Their Own. He has so many movies where he's the jerk, but you just can't help but like him. And this is again a prime example of that. There's so many moments that are played. I want to make sure that I get her name right. The actress. Wow, he's been in so many movies. I'm trying to find where A Man Called Otto is. The actress that plays Mariana Trevino, Marisol.
The neighbor. Yeah.
She is so good in the movie. She is one of the great listeners in all of cinema. There's the part where Otto is telling her about my wife and I got in a bus accident. I wanted to destroy the bus line, but she told me she wanted to live. Couple years ago, she died. I was going to join her. You watch Marisol's face. You watch Mariana Trevino's face. She is listening. She is invested in everything he's saying. And it's not so much what Otto says, it's her reaction that breaks my heart, because it's about that empathy. She loves this man and has come to love him so much that it breaks her heart to hear that he was going to end his life, right? So yeah, there's just I didn't want to put it in my top 10 because, like I said, it's not as well made and it's maybe too recent to really put in there to kind of match. But I do have it on repeat. I have watched it a lot. My wife will walk in and find that I'm watching A Man Called Otto again. But it's just a likable movie. I can't help it. So Yeah, and I guess that's my final thing on Tom Hanks. He's such a likable dude that he can play an a-hole and we'll still like him because we know he's eventually going to come around, right? And that's what makes him such a, and like I said, he's got a watch, but you can see in his face every emotion. He's not a chameleon like a Gary Oldman. He won't disappear into a role. You can always see Tom Hanks, but again, that's why we watch Tom Hanks, so we can have that recognition.
Before I, but the thing is, that's the funny thing is, it's like, yeah, you always see him, but when I'm watching him, I'm not thinking about another movie.
Yeah.
So he's not like disappearing into it so much like physically, but he is emotionally enough that I'm going, yeah, that's it. I'm not thinking, oh, I'm just watching Tom Hanks or something like that, or I'm not thinking about his other performances or something. And I too am not I think his performance in Forrest Gump is wonderful, but I never cared for that movie. I don't really like it, but I do love A Man Called Otto. Obviously, I mentioned it. I need to watch it again. I only saw it one time, but I did love it. It's exactly the kind of movie I wish they made more of nowadays. These heartfelt, mid-budget dramas. They don't make these movies. I was looking at his filmography. Was maybe the other movie you wanted to mention Greyhound, maybe, or
I was looking at, I think it's Charlie Wilson's War, and that's just because I like seeing certain actors dig their teeth into the Aaron Sorkin dialect. But the thing that I enjoy most about Charlie Wilson's War is Philip Seymour Hoffman, so I don't really count that as a Tom Hanks movie.
That's a movie I didn't like.
Yeah.
Not that anyone's bad in it, like he's fine in it. I just didn't care for like the subject matter very much, and
right.
It's not like a bad movie. It's just I just didn't connect with it.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not gonna end on a negative note. He has other good movies, like he's fine in like the Da Vinci Code, kind of movie. But I only saw the first one. He's fine. I liked it, but it's not going to make my top 10, and it's not going to make my honorable mentions either. News of the World, man, that was a good one.
I still have to see that.
Yeah. Oh, you have to see that. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I mean, especially being a parent.
Okay.
You would appreciate the movie, because he becomes like a surrogate parent to this little child. Okay. So it's excellent and a beautiful movie. Like the cinematography is really beautiful. I think it got Oscar nominations for that. And it's a beautiful looking movie. Okay. But I'm looking at our time here. Oh, we went really long, but that's okay because Tom Hanks deserves it.
Well, it's your show, Marianne, but if you wanted to end positive, do we want to go over, just recap our top 10 just so we can remind everybody?
Yeah. I'll go over where I listed all of them in a row. So you can go ahead and start.
Okay, so my number 10, I had Joe versus the Volcano. Number 9 was A League of Their Own. Number 8, Catch Me If You Can. Number 7, That Thing You Do. Number 6, Road to Perdition. Number 5, Big. Number 4, Castaway. Number 3, Apollo 13. Number 2, Saving Private Ryan. And number 1, The Toy Stories. Mostly the Toy Story 3, 1, 2, 3. By the way, I love that you told me. I just count those as one movie because, that would have taken Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 would have taken up 3 spots.
Well, I figured it would take up too many spots if you try to do that. So,
right.
So my number 10 is The Terminal. Number 9, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Number 8, Castaway. Number 7, The Toy Story movies. Number 6, Sleepless in Seattle. Number 5, Catch Me If You Can. Number 4, Apollo 13. Number 3, A League of Their Own. Number 2, That Thing You Do. And number 1, You've Got Mail.
Perfect. We had a lot of overlap, just different places.
We did.
Again, what I love about lists like this, Marianne, is it tells you this is you. Like that list is you. You know what I mean? And it tells you everything that you like and love about movies and about Tom Hanks. And same thing with my list. Yeah, same with anybody's list. So I love that this is a conversation. We went a little long. I don't know if we were planning on talking for 2 hours and 45 minutes, but I always enjoy your company. I always enjoy listening to your videos and reading your articles. Like I'm sorry that I've been out of it and haven't been able to share a lot of your articles and a lot of your videos lately. But again, I love your voice and I love chatting with you. So this has been just a joy.
Same here. And it's always such a pleasure talking with you on Twitter, about movies, because even when we don't agree, you're always kind, and that's kind of an anomaly on the internet.
That's a shame. That shouldn't be an anomaly.
I know it shouldn't be that way, but you can disagree with people and still have positive conversations because everyone comes from a different perspective, and that's one of the things I appreciate about you. And I love your content, and I thank you for being my very first guest, and I hope everyone enjoyed listening to this. I'm gonna do more of these. I don't know what the next one will be. You might be you again. I don't know. I gotta figure out and who would like to do it and figure out which actors I want to cover. But thank you for listening, and everyone have a good day, evening, morning, whenever you're listening to this or watching this. I hope you enjoyed this channel. Take care.